For the work session for the Town of Superior Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Mayor.
Manager.
I have two items scheduled for tonight's work session. The first is a concept plan requested by representatives on the WEDA property here in town. The WEDA development currently has one office building located off the Discovery Parkway. Last year, they received an amendment to their plan development for additional office buildings and future residential. Tonight, they will be presenting a concept plan for the residential piece of their property and development, and then take questions and direction from the board. With that, Dan Lee is here.
Well, I'm here.
Jim Rostovich is here.
Yeah. Jim Gray is on 36 right now. We got like 5 minutes.
How do you want to proceed?
Okay. Do you want to start with anything, or you want to wait till those guys get here?
Well, do you have it?
Yeah,
it's up here.
Also, Fred Fox is here. If the board has questions for them, as well as Stephen Williams, who's our new planner.
New guy.
Is here as well. And then myself and Mark.
We could also have the Coal Creek update first, which buys them a couple minutes.
Yes. I don't see Alex, but.
It won't be the same without Alex.
So you want to?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
I'll do it. So, some of you may remember this is the, I'm sorry, Jim Brostovich, Civil Resources, 323 5th Street, Frederick. So, the PD amendment that we prepared last year included, in fact, let me go to that exhibit. It included a total of 22 townhomes off Discovery Parkway here. And these are the office buildings, contemplated future office buildings, which are not part of this concept hearing tonight. So these were the 22 attached or duplex that were approved. We also had this parcel up here. This was off of Street 3 of the Superior Town Center, also known as Old Railway. We didn't really know what was going to go there, so we carved it out and called it Flex, which allowed us residential or office or any number of additional uses. Since that time, it's been probably more clear to us that the other side of Street 3 or Old Railway is most likely to become residential in the town center. So we've come back and we've looked at these units a little bit more closely. We actually dropped a pair of them, so there's actually only 20 units here where there used to be 22. As part of this, we kind of splayed them out so they all face a little bit different direction. We've staggered some of the sizes. There's 2 different unit sizes mixed in here. We made another fairly important change to help with the grades, and that we used to have a driveway that came in here and back out, and then this one was just a dead end. What we did now is we actually connected these two, and we would propose that this become an alley. What that does is it allows us to lower this roadway a little bit and help with the retaining wall issues that we had on this site before, and it pushes these buildings down a little bit. We still have a trail. The approved PD had a trail connection from the town center. This is town center block 25 up to Discovery Parkway. With this change, we actually shifted this trail 1 unit to the west. It just worked out better with the grades. The big change here that you haven't seen before is this flex space here. We're proposing 10 more residential units. Here's Mr. Bray. He can expand a little bit more about that. But these are the same units as the smaller units up here, and they would be loaded from the back, meaning the garages here are on the south side. So from the street, you won't see garage doors. This would again be another alley to access the garages. This is a connection to Superior Town Center Block 25, and there is a platted easement for that. That's always been our vision, that we're able to have a connection in between the two. There's still retaining walls in here. We tried to tier them to eliminate any one large wall. There's several small walls. There's a hammerhead here for the fire department and for trash. We figured trash trucks are going to end up having to turn around in here. It's too long to probably ask for a trash truck to back up that far. The detention pond is still here. There's a little bit of recontouring it just to make all this feasible. So, Jim, or you want to talk about the units or anything?
Well, sorry I'm late. 36 was fun today. I just wanted to...
Jim, if you don't mind starting with your name.
Oh, yeah. Jim Bray, 1300 Yellow Pine, Boulder. Basically what we've been doing is trying to bring the project into fruition to something that we can build. I don't know how much was covered before, but we've been marketing the commercial over almost the last year, trying to get that off the ground, and some nibbles, but nothing yet. So we're anxious to get something going out here. So this is basically looking at what was the flex building before, which we were commercial, residential, and I think right now we're certainly seeing the market for the residential as being something that is much more probable. And so basically what we've done is we've formalized the upper portion, or the southern portion. We lost some units there, so we lost 2 units up there. So our net gain is really only 8 units. If you include actually we've got them grouped into 3 groups, kind of the western, the eastern, and then the lower piece. So we've only gained 8 units out of those, even though there's 10 units shown down there on the railroad line. And we've looked at several different configurations here of those units. We looked at loading them directly from the north, and didn't necessarily like the aesthetics of those driveways fronting that, and so we feel that this solution works very well, rear loading those, and it also works on positioning those back towards the town center, which we think is the most important part of that, is being part of the town center, and these distinctly being part of that group. And so we've also been looking at some of the similar product that's further up the page there, and trying to blend those in with that. We've also kind of reconfigured the path that connects back up, and we feel good about that. It's by no means an easy task with all the grading that's going on out there. So that's working pretty well at this moment. So, basically we're here to get your guys' feedback on what you think of on formalizing that lower piece.
I'd actually like to point out colors on this were a little off, but so the pink or purple is pieces of this project that would be retained by the Discovery Office Park. The pink is obviously the office park itself, and we would propose that they continue to maintain the detention pond, because this detention pond at the end of this really serves mostly the office park. Most of the rest of this is going to drain east into the town center, and that's been accounted for in the town center infrastructure design. The yellow here, which was supposed to be green, is areas that we either are already owned by the town, the island in the middle of Discovery Parkway, or we would propose to dedicate as public alley or public areas. And then, the rest of these would just be fee simple lots, the blue and the other yellow.
Would this be governed by an HOA?
No.
Oh, sorry. It would not?
No, it would not, and that's based on the dedications that we're proposing there, that those would be public alleys.
Okay. And then where do those roads lead? They appear to be like they're leading somewhere. Yeah.
So this is Superior Town Center, Block 25. This would lead into Block 25.
Okay.
There are some concepts here where this works out.
Okay.
So that connection will be made there. The same here. Block 25 will have some sort of alley back here. and that connection is made there. So it is integrated.
And how wide are these streets or alleys that
These
you're
are
making?
26 feet wide, which is the minimum that Rocky Mountain Fire would allow us for a paved alley.
And so what was your purpose to make this an alley instead of a street?
Well, a street would require probably a much wider right-of-way. And for really the low-volume purpose this was, having a street parallel to a street didn't seem to make a lot of sense from a land use utilization.
Right, and we didn't want to back out onto Discovery Parkway. And also, we needed that street to be able to work some of the topography to step it down.
There is a sidewalk here that would be on the, I guess, north side of both of these. It would just be an attached walk, but there would be some sort of, it would kind of look like a street.
Right, and that frontage road or public alley hasn't really changed from the previous proposals, other than we joined it. It was broken before.
Jim, I didn't catch where that sidewalk is.
Do
Is it on the alley?
we? Yes, it is. It's kind of this, I don't know if I can zoom in on this.
You can go back one page and it shows up a little bit better.
A little bit. So the sidewalk is right along this edge. So you'll drive over an attached sidewalk and then into the driveway, like many of the other existing product in Superior. There will be only on a sidewalk on called the north side of both of these. It serves two purposes. One is it's a catch curb for drainage, and then it also provides a walkway, and that would connect with this walk that went down. And it's the same thing on this. The thicker black line is the sidewalk. So it'll connect down to Old Railway.
So I need to understand better, you're saying that you would deed over all of anything other than the lot itself, which would be the alley surfaces, the alley roads, the land around the alley, the pathways, the sidewalk, everything would become part of the town?
That's-
Even though it's in something that looks like a development, a residential unit enclave development?
Well, yeah, that is.
So
our
we'd be
intention.
responsible as a town for the alley access to these homes, but that's not a street. And for the property around all that yellow there that's around, up to the lot line of the homes. Is that what you're suggesting here?
That is the suggestion.
That seems kind of unusual to me. Because that was one of the questions I was going to ask, was the alley access looks a lot like a street, but yet it's not a street, it's an alley, and it's really to access the garages, correct?
And for trash and fire protection and
Right,
things like that.
right,
yes.
but it's for the residential use
Yes,
primarily.
Yes.
And then parking, where will they park their extra, how many garage spaces are in these units each? Two-car garage?
Two-car garage for each.
Each has a two-car garage, even the smaller ones?
Yeah.
Okay, so then somewhere I read it said 3 cars for 3-bedroom. I don't know, will some of these be a 3-bedroom?
We haven't gotten to the final design of the northern ones, but yeah, they would probably be 3 bedrooms.
But then a 3-car garage too?
So then we have either one in the driveway, or we have additional parking, and we could probably get some more additional parking, parallel parking through there.
But each driveway is, I think, 20 feet long, so there is basically there's 4 off-street parking spaces for each unit, including the 2 in the garage and the 2 in the driveway. And then, yeah, we do.
Where would they be, in the alley?
No, these kind of black,
They're inset with the garage door would still be 20 feet in from the curb line.
Oh, so you're saying the on-street parking is somehow attached to the driveway?
so it's just there's a 20-foot long driveway in front of each garage door.
Uh-huh.
So you'll be off of the alley. You'll go over the sidewalk, there's a 20-foot long paved driveway in
Yeah.
front of each garage door.
Right, I understand that. So
Right.
you can only put 2 cars in front of the
2 cars in front of the 2-car garage.
But you
yeah.
said off on-street. Oh, that's off-street, but what about on-street parking? Where's there on-street parking for
So-
visitors and for
Well, we carved out 2 spots here and 2 spots
when your
here.
grandson comes and stays
Right.
for a week, you know? Where's it,
And,
where's it
and,
come?
and Old Railway has on-street parking here, and we show 4 spots in the back here. We could carve out more, but every spot we put in is landscaping we can't put in. So we kind of felt 4 was appropriate, including the on-street parking here for that number of units.
Well-
There's,
How many are on speed 3?
So you're
Oh.
suggesting you're taking on-street parking away from the town center for your residential units to along, those 10 along there?
well,
Is that-
it's non-really, it's public park, it's non-designated. That's why we did include these 4 off-street spaces here.
Hmm.
So, or the 4 alley spaces. So each unit has 4 private parking spaces.
2 in the garage and 2 on the driveway?
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
there's 4 additional common parking spaces here that could be used by these units. Well, they could be used by anybody because it's
Right,
public.
they
but-
could be used for the town center as well.
I think that one of the things that is a problem, I'm just thinking out loud, is that for the people that live in Settlebrook, there's not enough parking. You know, there's never been enough parking there. And so the cars park along the street and then they have to, outside of the development, the entity, and then you have to walk in off of the street to try and get in because there's not enough parking. So that's one thing I see here that's lacking, is there's really no parking for visitors. There's the 2 places and possibly a third in the driveway for somebody that's in the household, but there's not enough parking for visitors. There's no place to park.
Well, there's 4 for 10 units here. And we could.
Right, so we're
we
talking
could-
about 44 parking spaces for 10 units.
No, yeah, I'm only talking about on-street parking now. I'm not talking about off-street. I've already got that. You have to have enough on-street parking too, because again, if you look at like Saddlebrook, it just doesn't work.
Well,
Now, so,
I think we could certainly increase that 4, double, even triple that number.
well, one place I think on your previous one, it was triple or quadrupled, really. I think there were 4 there on the original plan that I looked at, the first one. But anyway, you know, we're not here to redo it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that that's always a problem, finding enough parking. Or if you look at even Sagamore, there's really, and those are real streets, not alleys, and there's not enough places to park. Okay, so now, and the size of the residential units, particularly the small ones, I think you've made more small ones now. Well, how many square feet are we talking about? And they're all
2,700.
2 bedrooms or 3 bed? What? 2,700?
For the upper units, the southern units, the lower units are going to be, and again, we haven't gotten to whether or not they're going to be the exact configuration of them yet.
Yeah.
But they'll be in the 2,000 range.
Okay, and they're 2 bedrooms.
Okay, could you use?
Was that an affirmative, up and down, yes?
That
or not?
was, we're here for feedback. So it's not definitive yet, but there'll be 2 to 3 bedrooms, yes. There'll probably be a 2-bedroom with more of like a flex space that's either office or a bedroom, depending
Well,
on the user.
I'm not worried about whether it's 3 or not. I'm just
Yeah.
worried about whether it's only 1 and not 2.
Right.
You know, I think it would be more usable and useful, and if you got at least a minimum of 2
Right,
bedrooms.
absolutely.
Yeah. So whether it's 3 or not. And then, so those lower ones now that you're proposing, are they 2 stories, or what are they?
They would be 2 stories, and the question is whether or not we would try to go for a 3rd story. I think that would be, we haven't looked at the marketing of those yet to see whether or not we can fit a 3rd story on that. And certainly, we don't want to be obtrusive, but we're also raking up out of the hill. So there could be a potential for the 3rd story.
So so the front of the house is looking out to Street 3,
Right.
or Old Railway, or whatever. And how, is there like 15-foot access there? Their yard is 15 feet wide?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But you're proposing that be part of the lot, not part of the yellow
Correct.
beyond it, though, would be
Correct.
owned by the town, is the proposal that's up there right now.
Let's go back to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we looked at that enough to get some patios in there and
Okay,
some
so
nice
no, there
landscape.
you're not
So you
saying,
can kind of see the blue here.
Yeah,
That
right.
would be their yard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything north of that is already, is Old Railway right of way.
right, that's a street. So they'll be, the front of their house will be looking out at a street.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And all these units, even these units, do take up grade with 1 story, so the garages are higher than the.
Right, you enter
You'll
at
enter and
the
you're-
upper,
the
or the
lowest
main
level,
level, and the
yeah,
lower levels
is
below,
one-
yeah.
is one
Right, so
story.
that's the same on those bottom 10 there, too.
Yeah, even all of them are like that.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
why-
these definitely, because there's a
Yeah.
big,
Right.
the steep grade, and then you have nice views of the mountains. But those down there, it just, I just kind of don't know who they would belong to. Like, if I was a resident going to buy there, or a person interested in buying, I kind of like go, where do I belong? Do I belong to the town center? Do I belong to this Discovery office park area? It just kind of seems like they're just stuck out there. I mean, I'm
Well,
not saying that I'm opposed to them,
I don't think when we think of this as built out, I don't think that you're gonna be confused about it. I mean, the whole point is to be part of the town center, to orient them to the town center.
But I'm
and be
talking about
part-
residential, right there on the street, and then beyond it, supposedly, as I think I heard Chris say, we think there's going to be office or businesses to the north of those. So how will they feel? This is a question I'm asking, not looking for an answer back. I was thinking out loud, how will they feel like they're part of a residential area rather than stuck 10 units right in the middle or right at the end of a street and in amongst what supposedly, hopefully, will be office and business?
Well, for one, I mean, block 25, the town center is definitely residential.
Not there, I'm talking north.
Yeah, well, these units would face the same. So, yeah, it has the potential to be in a transition zone there.
Okay.
We don't know for sure what goes on up there.
Well, we kind of have an idea what's going to go to the north, but your point to the east is a valid one, because that most likely will be residential units.
Well, and the stuff to the north on town center could also be residential in the town center PD.
It's flex, and it's office over here, so it'll be
It is
interesting to
office
see.
there, yes.
Yeah, right, along there. Okay. All right, and then you said fee simple, so people will buy
They
these.
would buy
They
them.
will own them. Okay, all right.
I've got
Thank
a
you.
follow-up question on the yellow-green area that you're going to dedicate, the lawn area that you're going to dedicate. Is it your vision that the town would, through the town's contractors, would maintain the grass and sprinklers and mow it, and these residents would pay a landscape fee? Is that how you're envisioning that working? Or I'm not clear on who waters it, who mows it, and how that gets paid for.
Well, and first of all, I guess that most of that path area we imagine as kind of native, not necessarily high turf manicured.
Okay.
In regards to the maintenance of that, I don't know how that ties in with the rest of the town center.
Well, that's the metro
That's
district,
the
which is,
metro
we're not
district.
part of the metro
Right.
district, so.
I need somebody closer to the
Sorry.
mic.
So what I said was the town center has a metro district. This project is not part of the Superior Town Center Metro District, so it doesn't have that organization associated with it.
Yeah.
That's why I asked about an HOA.
Yeah.
Right.
So Clint, I'd be interested in you pursuing.
Any area
pursue that
that's dedicated to the town, once the 2-year warranty period is up, after initial acceptance, we maintain it.
But what seems odd about it, though, is that it's not like a park area, it's really the common space around a development,
Mhm.
which we don't maintain that in very many other places
Right.
either. So it just, again, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around it that all of a sudden we're going to pick up an alley, 2 alleys.
And a retaining wall.
And a retaining wall, and a path, which I'm not even sure why the path is there. There's lots of paths every place else, so we could probably really need to know whether that path needs to be there for sure, or if there's other ways to traverse, because you're gonna have a path on this side thank you for leaving that 200 feet of buffer on the south side of your property, and there'll be a path in there. So I'm wondering if what this path does for anybody, because it stops at Discovery Office Park. Parkway, Discovery Parkway.
Well, it continues, and in the master plan, it continues again and joins into.
Okay, so you can get across that busy Discovery Parkway easily without endangering your...
There is a crosswalk there now. I think it does need some sightline improvements, but that's a technical detail we can figure out.
So that's what you were intending for that, is that you're going to have people walk up behind these homes and then cross over Discovery Parkway to get through the park, office park itself, over to the other path at the south.
Yeah, and it
And then
connects
many of
around
these,
the
take these as rhetorical, not that
No.
I'm just, they're just kind of flowing out
the other.
of my head. I don't expect you to have an answer for
No,
everything.
I'm just
but-
let's remind you of the path. So it connects, goes around the lake, and then it connects all the way over here, back over to Rock Creek.
So this is has yet to be designed trail through the buffer zone,
Mhm.
through the commercial or office, down here to the town center. So if you were working here, you could walk to here. Okay. Not as much for these residents as for.
Right,
for
and
these
also,
users,
and
too.
also for Rock Creek, if you
And
don't
for
want to be
anybody.
along McCaslin and you
Right.
wanted a more scenic venue, or you want to run your loop up the hill and then back around, to give you some options. And, you know, obviously, the more permeable these developments are, the more accessible they are.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
I thought we had a requirement in town that all new developments had to have an HOA. I believe that's the case.
I'd have to check on that. I mean, I don't remember that, but.
I'm pretty sure of that. I think you need to be thinking about having an HOA when, the only place I know of that doesn't have an HOA is Original Town with plotted, you know, when building to code. You're not building to code, you're building to a PD. And let's check that, please. I believe there is a requirement for an HOA, at least in the comp plan, I think, maybe in the code. I'm having trouble with this dedication of an alley that goes nowhere. I mean, but this is a concept plan. We're not making a decision. I'm just throwing my thoughts out there. My first original thought was disappointment that we're going residential here, even though there is, I mean, we'll see. But hoping all of the flex goes commercial one way or another throughout, wherever the choices are.
If you saw commercial there, what kind of building do you think that is in your mind?
Pardon?
What kind of building do you think that would be in your mind if it went commercial?
I was thinking it was an office building. I'm not sure. My recollection right now of what's around it in town center is not exact, so I don't, you know, that's, but again, it was offered as a flex, and I just had always hoped it would be commercial in one way or another, because we're getting plenty of residential.
Without color, I'm not sure this exhibit is all that useful, or would show what these uses were on blocks 9, 10. Have a color version somewhere, do you?
Do you have
Well, the
color
black and
version
white
we can
grading,
look at?
what's that? Yeah, first floor commercial with
Yeah.
space above.
Well,
Commercial's
so now
pretty-
what I'm looking at is what is the land use on these two blocks?
Oh,
And
And it's residential.
I think it's residential. Yeah. So the flex was the north part of that block.
Right, so the back of that is still, the south side of that is still residential.
Yeah, these two blocks are residential. So we're right here, facing residential against residential.
I mean, you know, it's a concept plan, so we'll see. But again, I would always hoped it was commercial. The other thing, if you could go back to the dedication, color coding, I was wondering what currently is dedicated to the town out of Discovery Office Park right now. Could you go over those?
Just the streets.
Discovery.
Outside of sidewalk to outside of
Outside of
sidewalk.
sidewalk to outside of sidewalk. And the plat that is currently in place did plat an alignment for this path as an easement. This is a different alignment. But there are easements throughout. There's a lot of easements on this property. Even before it was replatted, there's still a lot of utility easements and sidewalk easements and things like that.
Maintenance and snow removal of Discovery Parkway currently is done by whom?
Town.
Town, okay. The alleyway is the one that, well, we'll see, it just kind of seems convoluted. So,
And there's nothing that requires the town to take these parcels for public property.
and even if, you weren't maintaining lands on the HOA issue, there's more to what HOAs do than just do common grounds, And that's why I bring that up. I think there's a requirement that there be an HOA.
Well, just the issue of trash collection alone. I mean, imagine, everybody, you
Well-
move into a complex like that, you're gonna think, well, trash is certainly handled by someone,
Well,
but then you gotta go
everybody-
and, you gotta go
That's handled by
into.
the city.
Yeah, everybody
That
new
was our
gets
town.
handled by the city, by
It would be-
by
Yeah,
ordinance.
that's true.
So that kind of is taken care of. But anyway, that's just concept plan. This is not a hearing, it's not anything, no decisions made, but those are just my thoughts.
Okay. Trustee Pennington and then Giselle.
First, a request, whenever we get these, we have to have a hard copy of the old thing that's already been approved, because we're all at a disadvantage here. My memory on this is completely gone, and you flip back to it at one point, but that's not enough for me to be able to really understand the changes you're proposing. And I need to be able to visualize this in 3D. So the ones along facing Old Railway are flush with the street. And then what is the grade rise to the higher up ones? And how tall do you anticipate that retaining wall being?
Well, I'll start from the bottom. Old Railway, consider that like elevation 0. So this unit here is flush with the street. There is a small retaining wall here that would taper up, or we may do it in the yards, that's also.
How high at its highest?
4 or 5 feet on this unit above the street.
Okay,
Then this is all, so then the garage is 1 story above the north side of the building. So it's 10 feet or whatever, floor to floor, garage to floor. So the alley, this alley right here is about 10 feet higher than Old Railway. Then this is generally flat. There's a retaining wall here that's 4 to 6 feet here. It probably gets a little taller right here. My big plan doesn't really have a resolution to read here. There's another retaining wall here about the same height. So there's some tiered walls here. Instead of having one big wall, we'd rather have a couple of small walls.
so total height gain of 8 to 12?
It's probably closer to 14.
Okay,
Then these units here do the same thing. They take up a story of grade. So this alley here is 10 feet higher than the backyard or the north side of this unit. And then this alley here, in the middle of it, sits 4 or 5 feet below Discovery Parkway. There's about 40-some feet of grade change on this site that has to be made up. We make up at least 20 feet of that with the units themselves, and everything else is sloped or walls.
so describe again what you already told Rita. When I enter one of these units, I enter into the second story and I walk down to the,
You enter on the main level.
Enter on the
And then
main.
you walk down to what would be a basement, or a walkout basement, or you go up to a living area.
a walkout basement on the front.
On the north.
Yeah.
Yeah. What price point are you trying to hit here?
Well, the top units were in the 800. The smaller, lower ones, we don't know yet because we're just trying to figure out what they are, but maybe in the 5.
Okay, so sort of the upper end of the market?
Upper end, yeah.
Okay. And I think Rita brings up a good point with the parking. It seems substantially underparked to me. In that price range, you can definitely assume 2 cars and maybe even a third one. And where do guests park? Especially if the garage is used for other purposes than parking?
Well, the commercial parking can be used, during the time people are coming home. The commercial lots open up. Like our building right there. All that parking can be used, they could walk down.
Yeah.
It's not that far.
That's
Just have
feeling,
the trail for it. But
feeling
yeah, I mean,
like
if you're having a party with 20 people, yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
maybe a situation. But that's where this parking opens up all night.
I'd like to see you explore some ideas of having some, where you have the trash on the lower level, where you called that out. Could that be expanded and made into some parking down there?
Yeah, you could put a couple
You know,
spots in there.
can you lose a unit and make some, widen these out a little bit and on the upper tier and give us some more generous parking? If we go the alley concept on this, and Matt, you'll have to remind me, if we go the alley concept on this and the alley connects to Block 25 in the Superior Town Center, de facto, we're making the decision to have alleys in Superior Town Center. Have we made that decision yet? We've agreed on how many, what kind of alley structures in
We've agreed to
Block
have,
25.
that the concept of alley load for
Yeah.
garages is in the PD plan
but not on the
amendment.
placement? on the
But no,
specific-
because you haven't got a FTPs for any of those blocks yet.
Well, we're making some decisions. If these things are linked, we're making some, if the alleys are expected to be linked, we're making some advanced decisions that will affect Block 25. So have you run this by the town center developers to see whether or not it's copacetic with what they see going forward?
Yeah, I'll speak for Randy, and he's seen this and he likes it.
Okay.
And he knows they're integrated. He wants them to be integrated.
He what?
He actually wants them to be connected this way.
Well,
More
I think we want everything to be connected, but whether or not it's in the form of an alley in a particular position, I'm just cautioning us all that if this goes forward, we're sort of making that de facto decision. Width of sidewalk, have you given that some thought?
Right now, it's drawn as a 4-foot attached walk,
Okay.
which is,
You know that we mandated 5 foot in Superior Town Center. Just saying.
I think the driveways only need to be 19 by
Yeah.
code for an off-street parking, so you could switch a foot of the walk for a foot of the driveway, and it would still not change this density.
Well, that was because we have a whole subdivision called Rock Creek that has 4-foot sidewalks where you can't walk 2 up on, just to tell you the logic behind that. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at the square footage. I thought they were going to be smaller than that. So I heard you say the smallest square footage is 2,000. What's the largest square footage?
The upper ones, including basements, jump up to, they're over 2,000. There's like 25 or 33, including a full basement. But that's one level, it's a full basement.
Okay. And did I hear you correctly? You're entertaining the concept of maybe 3 stories?
Well, again, for the lower units, you're going down for one that's a walkout basement, main level on top of that, and so then a living level up above. So it's not much different than what we had gotten approval for on the upper units.
Well, actually, I think we're talking now across the street from Superior Town Center at Old Railway, right?
Right.
And what's our height limit on those better.
60.
In the Superior Town Center?
Well, it varies depending on what block you're on.
Right.
So
But
that
for-
residential
for that
area there, I
block-
don't know what it
block
is, but
9.
it's not 60 feet by any means, you know, because that's downtown in the center of the town center. But I think that your application, your PD amendment has that it's only 32
30,
feet.
yeah.
Yeah, so maximum for residential units, so.
Right, and I think we
Yeah.
can work within that for.
Yeah,
for
and
those
definitely, you
units.
can get 2 stories above grade
Yeah.
within 32 feet. So
Right.
I don't think that's much of an issue for
I
me
actually
as-
think that is better balanced against
Right.
what is across from it.
Right,
You
I think
actually
if
have
they,
2
if they
stories
were,
above
if they were a
grade.
walkout in a ranch that wasn't,
Yeah, I
it's not
think
gonna
it
feel
would
right.
look like wasted opportunity.
Right. And then I think that, for me, that this whole alley thing, it just doesn't sit right. I think I'd rather have a street with a cul-de-sac at the end instead of that little turnaround for the garbage and stuff like that. But again, this is just ideas and concepts that are coming from us as you present your concept. I'd rather see, even if it's a narrower street than the 30-foot or 32 feet or however wide, but like, so you could at least park on one side of it and not have a little cutout for a couple of cars. But it just would seem, and particularly if the town needs to ultimately take it over someday, I'd rather have it to be a street that we take over and not an alley. And again, I'm just talking concept here.
Well, and understand that the cues we were getting from town center were to pull off of those alleys. So if that alley transforms into a street, there's kind of a fine line there.
Well, they're gonna have a metro district, well, actually,
Right.
3 of them. You don't have a metro
Understood.
district. So,
But we were still connecting to that same piece.
we don't know what's gonna go over there yet, so.
Right, well, that's why we're still working with Randy back and forth to pull these alignments with at least the best information we have right now.
Yeah, well, with what we have in front of us, and I appreciate that, I understand what you're saying. What we have in front of us, if we had to, as a town, say, what would we prefer? What is more consistent with what we have in the other residential areas, non-development, HOA maintained, but residential units within the town of Superior, they have streets in front of them, not alleys.
So the problem with streets, alleys, if a street has a 54-foot right-of-way or whatever, physically there's not enough space.
I don't know that we have any street that has a 54-foot
Well,
right-of-way.
a lot of those narrowest streets in town center are 54.
Well, we have 30, well, whatever.
Right,
I'm just,
included
again,
right.
we're not trying to solve
Sure.
it right now. It's just, alleys don't seem right, for a town being, now, if you want to maintain alleys, that's fine. I'm okay with whatever you want to do, but for the town, we don't maintain alleys in the preponderance of outside of original town Superior.
Okay, any other questions or?
How did you
comments?
expect this alley to be constructed? Of what materials?
Probably asphalt, but that would depend on the geotechnical.
With curb and gutter?
With curb and gutter.
Yeah.
Curb and gutter on both sides, sidewalk on one side, asphalt in the middle,
Right. And-
So to the quality of a street?
to the same quality, but just not called a street because it doesn't meet any of the town standard street cross sections
Mhm.
for two-way traffic and parking.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is item number 3, Coal Creek Drive update.
Trustee Duzell at the last meeting had asked for an update of the improvements that are being done to West Coal Creek, adjacent to the Coal Creek Crossing development in west of original town. Alex is here to provide an update. Martin, do you have something? Where'd Martin go anyway?
He just stepped out.
If you can pull up the exhibit we have for the board, and then Alex, if you want to come up and give the board an update. It's under construction currently. The developer's doing, they're required to do the south side of the road improvements as part of their development. As part of their project, we piggyback on to do a finished side on the north side adjacent to the park. Anticipated completion date is middle of September.
Alex Arnola, Public Works Director. This is our landscape plan. What we've tried to do is to carry through the bulb outs that we've done in the older part of Coal Creek Drive, where we had the traffic calming treatments. We did take out the kink and put attached sidewalk in along the south side as directed by the board several months ago. So we have attached walk along the south side going all the way from approximately 4th all the way down through to 76th. On the north side, we kept the walk where it is adjacent to Founders Park, so we haven't changed anything on the south side in terms of the walk. We have pedestrian crossings. These will be just striped crossings and connections to the walk on the north side at 6th and at 8th. One change from prior plans, we did have a pedestrian crossing here mid-block, but when we looked at where that was crossing to, it wasn't a very good place for that to cross to. So we decided to eliminate that and send the pathways towards 6th and 8th. We did take out the bulb out that was here. That's something that's still open. We like direction from the board on that. We didn't think it was necessary and does provide additional parking in that location. But we did have that bulb out on a pedestrian crossing at that point. Patrick, I think you want to talk about the landscape concepts.
Patrick Cameron, town staff. Just a couple quick items to note is maintaining, we worked to maintain the view corridor here into the park, as well as kind of create a view corridor here. We were really cognizant of not walling off the park. During the Founders Park Town 9 Enhancement Project, quite a bit of work went in at the committee level as well as with design concepts and staff to make sure that you still kind of have these open view corridors into the park. Some of the planning here, the pavilion, the large sandstone sign, those were always intended to be viewed from the road. A combination of ornamental trees and larger deciduous trees, and then following on with the theme of the flower areas, and a couple of additional crossing points where we've seen, or we anticipate social trails developing. And then, as Alex mentioned, parking along the park. With the remaining, you can kind of see it faded out here, keeping the existing trees that are on that eastern side. We already had a handful of trees here that were removed that were scheduled to come out anyway because they were declining.
So then this, if you continue on to the east, that we can't see here, it lines up now straight perfectly on both sides with what's beyond?
Yes.
Which avenue is that, 4th or?
Yeah, 4th. That's
Right here, you can see the kink back here, if I can reach it. There's the kink. So the whole road's been pulled down.
Uh-huh.
And this lines up so we have a straight shot from where the existing improvements leave off, right about here, back here.
Okay, so, because that was, it lines up with how it, okay. Now, so the other question that was posed to me was that how many new parking spaces are we going to have now with that cutout there? Because we had these back here were already there, but we didn't have official parking up here, did we?
Yeah, I mean, well, this area here has always
There.
been used, on the north side, has been used for parking, informal parking.
Right. It was used as informal parking.
Right.
Yeah, so now we're adding like 8 spaces there or something? Officially.
Right, there's
designated.
probably 16, 18. on that side. And
Oh,
I have-
there's that many?
I have a count of all the spaces. I think we ended up with about 145 spaces between Colt Creek, 76th, Sycamore, and 4th, about 145 around the park on both sides of those streets.
Okay. And then when you get out of the car here in that area, there's no sidewalk to step on, so that you really want to walk on the street up to either this crosswalk.
Yeah, we'll have, do we get some landscape, some flagstones?
Some of them are it's kind of steep, isn't it, in some spots or not, to go up over the grass, or is that down? by
There
the
is a little
pavilion?
bit of grade here. A lot of that'll kind of be graded out and landscaped out. There'll still be the existing drainage in here. And then something that we've worked on is we recognize that there'll be social trails that'll kind of likely develop on their own.
Mhm.
And we've worked with the landscape architect to maybe do the flagstone path, which is something that's starting to become a consistent theme of ours on really short distances, either between streets and curbs or sidewalk to sidewalk. But we've anticipated, the small crossing points. Hopefully people won't go through the flower bed, but we do understand that that's, a center point, and it could happen. But we have anticipated.
Depends on how pretty it is.
How many feet is that between those crosswalks? Linear feet between the connections with Coal Creek Crossing?
About 300 feet, 2 blocks,
Yeah.
kind of in between here and here.
Is it possible just to incorporate from the get-go some of those flagstone? They're
Mhm.
going to be needed.
Absolutely.
So can we make them official part of the design so they look intentional?
Sure. Yep. And those were items that we've got a good supply of flagstone in the yard, and those are quick projects that we can do internally. But yeah, they can absolutely be added.
And where would you see them going again?
We've discussed kind of coming from east to west, maybe in this kind of tree break here. Being cognizant of the distance from the curve is something that we've
Mhm.
also, so maybe back somewhere in here. Maybe as you get a change in plant material here, and then maybe another somewhere down in this area.
Yeah,
trying
just
to work with the change in plant
Just to be
material.
clear, are you intending them to connect from the street to the sidewalk?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And then hopefully not having to do something in here and,
Right.
and having enough plant material to deter people from walking through.
Is all the landscaping on the south side ours too, or is that Coal Creek Crossing?
That's a Coal Creek crossing.
Okay.
And then as a part of this project, wanting to maintain the continuity, a lot of attention to tie the two designs together to make sure that it looked even and there was a consistent feel as you went either east or west up the road.
So that path that's down here is theirs, that they're going to be putting in that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Patrick, I have a couple of more questions for you. Have we gotten the price for that landscape as depicted there?
This landscaping here is about $150,000. This is about 20 plus feet wide, and I believe the distance is somewhere around 1,000
Why
feet.
don't I feel like I've ever heard that number? Has it come before us?
I don't believe that number's come before.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It's part of the
sorry
overall
about that.
project.
It was put in the overall project
yes.
costs? Really? Wow. Did anybody else know that? I had no clue. I think that's actually, because we had to deal with the fact that we decided to leave the sidewalk in place in the park. So we minimized costs. We didn't want the cost of tearing that out and replacing all those linear feet of sidewalk. So I'm actually a little stunned at that number. Are there any, did you entertain ways to have that come in cheaper, less expensive?
Reduction in plant material is definitely
Are
an
all
option.
those trees intended to be tall evergreens or deciduous? Or are we seeing some bushes there?
It's a good mix between the lower ornamental bushes and then deciduous trees. And that's the kind of
Yeah.
town's standard height that we require on install.
Yeah,
And that 150,000 for landscaping is just on the north side.
right.
Correct. Plus the water infrastructure and irrigation
Yeah.
that needs to go in, which gets pulled from down here to maintain it.
Yeah.
That's
And that's not really going to mirror the other side, though, right? That strip right there, that's 150,000. If you
yep.
go to the other side of the park,
Up here?
on the other side where it meets with the Superior Marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
Sycamore.
Sycamore, is that going to mirror this?
No, that's a
Doesn't.
different landscaping plan in kind of different control and ownership, because once you get on that other side of Sycamore, that's maintained by the marketplace.
But on the side of this park,
Mm-hmm.
we maintain it.
Correct, we maintain the interior park up here.
And there's not much landscaping up there at the current
No.
time.
No, you've got just the parking kind of access in here into the park.
So,
Okay.
sorry, is there a reason why we're enhancing this particular end on this? Did the developer ask for that? Do you know where I'm going?
Yeah, so
here?
when we took the kink out of the road,
Uh-huh.
it just created a significant gap about 20 feet wide. And right now it's just native material and drainage. So upgrading that, making it consistent with the rest of the park, actually having that as an extension of the park is what we were shooting for. And then trying to mirror what was designed and approved for Coal Creek Crossing.
Oh,
So we had kind of the
that's what I was asking.
1,000 feet long, 20 feet wide, and then from a design perspective, wanting to tie it into what was going to be seen here was the goal.
I absolutely think it needs to be sodded or seeded to grass, and that it needs to have the same tree structure as the other north side of the park. But it seems to me like we've gone substantially beyond that. So is it possible for us to still see an alternative, or where are we in the plan for this landscaping?
We can work to revise a plan by cutting plant material, if that's the direction.
What I'd
of the
like to do
board.
is see what the other side of the park looks like.
Yeah.
I think Deborah brings up a good point that,
Okay, wait.
do we need to match?
I think
'Cause it's-
before we start going down the road of let's make changes, let's, we're going to need to schedule this for, we're out
More
of,
discussion.
we're not going to be able to schedule any changes at this point. So we'll need to maybe put it on the end of the meeting or something,
Oh, okay. Well,
into the
I
regular
think
meeting,
it's
but
more
we're
discussion.
we're just out of time.
This is a
Yeah.
$150,000 budget item I don't think any of us have seen.
Well, this
So-
is just an informational, right? I mean,
That's what I thought it was, but now we're kind of going down the road of should we change the plan? And I don't think we need to.
Is,
Whoa,
Mr.
whoa,
Mayor,
whoa, whoa.
that we-
There is no plan right
Yeah.
now, right? I mean, we are looking at. a
We have
concept.
construction documents. This road is
have-
under construction.
The road is,
Right.
yeah.
The road's under
It's
construction.
scheduled to be done by the middle of September.
I agree that the road is under construction, and the road construction was approved. What I don't agree is that we agreed to spend $150,000 on the landscape plan. So am I incorrect in that? Where did we approve $150,000 for the landscape plan?
My memory of the meeting, which we'll have to go back to and send to you, is that the entire road was approved, including landscaping.
Okay, well, I'd just like that sent to
Yeah,
us
yeah.
and have that documented. Very critically, if I can make one more point, I have several more here, so I do think it needs more discussion. Are those raised crosswalks across to Coal Creek Crossing?
No.
They're paved.
Those are great.
My fear, if they're not raised, is you're going to have a speedway, because now we've got that long street.
We don't have raised crosswalks in the rest of Coal Creek.
I know, but we just removed the curve, which was a natural slow-down area. A curve always slows down.
Okay,
So I'm
we're at
just
7
raising
o'clock, so
the
we're going to
point.
have to wrap up the work session.
So can I just, I'm confused. If this is a work session and, I mean, we're not asked to be approving anything at this moment.
No.
Okay. That's all I wanted to make sure of.
Okay.
Because when you mentioned putting it at the end of the meeting, I was confused.
Well, we started
Well,
out
there-
talking about changing things, so that's why.
Okay, we'll do it, we'll open that public comment here shortly. Let's, we're going to do public comment during the regular meeting. We'll do public comment
No, I
then.
want to talk during the work session.
We're not,
I wouldn't be sitting here if I don't want to talk.
understand, we need to wrap up the work session and start the regular meeting, though. Let's go ahead with the, do you want to review the agenda items for September 14th?
Unless somebody has a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
No question.
Okay, all right. Work session's adjourned. We'll be back in 1 minute.
We're here.
Sit down here for nothing.
Okay, 1 minute. Let's get back.
Hey, Patrick.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Town of Superior Board of Trustees for week August 24th, 2015. Phyllis, could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Clint Polson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Williams,
Here.
Trustees Joe Sorelli,
Here.
Rita Dozell,
Here.
Elia Gagoras, Chris Hansen.
Here.
Sandy Pennington.
Here.
Town Manager Matt Magley.
Here.
Town Attorney Kendra Carberry.
Here.
Town Clerk Phyllis Harden here.
Okay, thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
I'd like to pull 12C.
Okay, Trustee Hansen would like to pull 12C. Anything further?
Yeah.
Trustee Pennington?
12D.
Trustee Pennington would like to pull 12D.
And I'd like to
Trustee
add to
Gazelle.
the executive session, an item at the end where it talks about properties and an additional property, and additional properties discussion.
Okay, is that acceptable to Town Attorney? Okay. Okay, anything further on the agenda? Have a motion to approve? Motion by Trustee Hansen, second by Trustee Sorelli. All those in favor? Passes unanimous. All right, next is the reports, questions, and issues. Trustee Hansen, go
I'll
ahead.
start. Don't have anything to report on, but I do have a question. On the town bulletin board, a question came up today about the yard waste facility, that is it currently closed because you can't access it?
Yep.
Some of the residents had concerns that this is a time of the year that they're really working in the yards and getting them prepared for winter time and all that kind of stuff, and they wanted to know if there's another way to get to the yard waste facility, or is there an alternate solution to what?
No, I mean, the road work is supposed to be wrapped up by the end of this week on that section, then it'll be opened up. So we have a two-week delay, which is unfortunate, but it'll be open by the end of this week, and residents can begin again using the facility.
Okay. So
We don't really have another location for that type of drop-off is the issue, really. So if it's going to go beyond this week, I mean, I could talk to my staff and see if there's another location that we could use, but I anticipate that being open by the end of this week.
All right. Is it possible if it goes beyond this week that maybe a truck is parked somewhere where?
Yeah, we'll look at something, yeah. We'll have to figure out where, which is the biggest issue, but yeah.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Trustee Sorelli?
Attended a few meetings since our last board meeting. Last week, as liaison to the Resource Conservation Advisory Committee, I was at that meeting, and they were talking about their upcoming year's plan, and the most emphasis in the meeting was discussing they're going to try to emphasize contacting local businesses in Superior to encourage them to take advantage of the county PACE program and explain the PACE program. It's a free program available to businesses. The county coaches them through several aspects of resource conservation, et cetera, and they get recognition from the county along the way, and hopefully we as a town would consider some sort of recognition to participants who achieve milestones as well, that they could put up a plaque or something from the town. That's part of the plan, and they're going to start trying to be ready for this by the Chili Fest with a booth that, it only pertains to brick and mortar business, so it doesn't pertain to everybody, but they catch the right people to try to introduce them to this PACE program. So,
Joe, I think that's a really good idea. And I think that was part of the discussion we talked about last year for their work plan, is to get out and educate businesses more. But perhaps they're members of the Chamber of Commerce, and there could be articles written up about them that highlight these businesses that are doing all they can.
And they have, I think recognition would be very important for the success of the program. The next meeting, I'm going to be away for a good chunk of the beginning of September, so I will miss the meeting of RCAC on the 10th of September. It's a Thursday at 5:30 PM. Hopefully, I don't think I have a designated backup for that. So I'm going to make a similar plea for the Historical Commission, which met last Friday, and so I was at that meeting. They meet on the third Friday of the month, so the next one would be September 15th. They meet from 10 to 12.
What dates
September.
are you calling here?
The 15th is a.
I'm
Monday.
sorry,
Tuesday.
wrong, that's the wrong date I wrote that. They are meeting September
18th.
18th. Yep, I had different, yep, next meeting September 18th at 10 PM. 10 a.m.
Okay.
And so somebody,
I'll do that.
Thank you. That would be great. They are currently in the process of gearing up for second grade field trips that they've done every year, visiting the park and the museum and town hall. And the first one that is scheduled is September 11th. And they tentatively have one scheduled for September 15th. So it's Superior Elementary and El Dorado K through 8. If they've talked to, they haven't scheduled anything with Monarch yet. They anticipate something with Monarch. So those are the three big deals, and it's been a big success with the second grading classes, I think, in the past. They also approached some delegates, some members of the committee approached the town manager. He may want to tell you about that, but their concerns about how the cemetery has been undercut and through all the digging around there, and concerns about it getting worse, and asking for something to be done about it. And I think it looks as if the town manager provided a very adequate and quick response. They were very pleased with that. See how the follow-up goes with the town center construction as well. But third thing I'd like to point out is I heard this week that the Rocky Flats Refuge is open. And it's open for guided tours. There's 2 scheduled in, let me see, I have dates somewhere. One scheduled for September 25th from 9:30 to 11:30. It's kind of a 3-mile hike on the refuge. That's a Friday. Another one that they have scheduled is on October 16th, 9:30 to 11:30, another approximately 3-mile hike. You have to make a reservation. It's not open to just walk into the site. You have to make a reservation and get on one of these guided tour hikes. And there's a number which I could tell anybody, or I could read it out. It's 303-289-0930 to make a reservation. And part of the same news that we got was that the Fish and Wildlife Service and the Department of Energy are working on a intergovernmental agreement on making a visitor center there as well, which we had mentioned in the past, and I don't know any details of that. And that's all the news I have.
Okay, thanks. Trustee Dizelle?
Yes, on October, I was thinking about your, August 11th, attended the Hodgson Harris Reservoir ribbon cutting. That was great to see the wildlife coming back there to that reservoir. Attended a Dr. Cog orientation for new members with the mayor on August 13th. We had a good time riding to Denver and back, but I think our time was okay at the orientation. There was just a lot of data that we kind of probably already knew, but it was good to attend it. Attended the regular Dr. Cog board meeting last week, August 19th. And the big thing that's going on right now there is the task group is creating a position paper on how to improve the next TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program funding cycle. And I'm sure that our staff has received notice about that. And I think Alex is on the technical committee. I think that's the group that's going to actually write the paper that's going to talk about whether changes need to be made and how they determine who gets funding and how they rate the different projects, because there was a lot of discomfort in how it happened. Some big towns feel they don't get money, the little towns don't feel they get money, and there's a lot of money floating around. So whenever there's a lot of money floating around, people get a little bit concerned. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks. Trustee Pennington?
I'd like to actually ask to meet with staff on the El Dorado K-8 school zone. We met many times about this last year, and part of it was put into place ahead of the school start. However, two elements of it I don't believe got done as the residents and Transportation and Safety Committee thought they were going to be done. The first is the movement of those existing flashing signs towards the intersections. They're still in their original positions. And then I thought that we had approved a cheap metal sign past the intersections to say school zone approaching.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to meet with you.
Okay.
Just let me know what time you're thinking.
So yeah, the way we have it now creates some problems because the end school zone sign in front of El Dorado K-8 occurs before the cycle has been completed. So I'd like to see that remediated. Everybody here was at our first 3-hour budget meeting Friday afternoon, and just an announcement to the town. We have another one Wednesday from 2 to 6, and the public is invited and encouraged to attend. OSAC met last week in a sort of innovative way. 3 members were there, and then a couple of them were on phone. The ones on the phone couldn't vote, so it wasn't an official quorum, but it was an effective meeting nonetheless. But it came up again that they're interested in knowing what the plans are for the Ridge 2 property. There's a sales sign up there. What does the comp plan say the town?
I think it's listed as office on the comp plan. I'd have to double check.
So they want direction as to whether or not they can investigate and possibly, if they decide to put a proposal before the board, that might be considered for open space. Is that worth their effort, or have we made the decision that is not going to be open space?
Well, all I can say is during the last comp plan update, the decision was made to leave it as an office designation for future land use. You can always amend the comp plan if you decided that was a change you wanted to make.
Okay. Regarding Rocky Flats, Joe, I met with, went to another meeting of the Rocky Flats Technical Group, and I believe the public information about this came out because at the last meeting this group had a couple of weeks ago, we had congressional representatives there, and Jared Polis attended, and we all had abided by what was in the documents about a 2017 opening, if there's money available at that point to construct trails, et cetera. And we were informed by the congressional staff that in their contact with Rocky Flats, they had actually created a soft opening. And I am very discouraged by that because I believe the community should have been informed that a soft opening was in the works. I mean, this is a federal property. I would hope that that opening would have been subject to official disclosures, et cetera. And I'm going to stick my neck out here and encourage every resident of this community to stay off Rocky Flats until we have definitive evidence of what impact may have occurred on it with the 2013 flood.
That's a personal opinion of yours.
That's my personal opinion.
Regarding the soft opening, the Fish and Wildlife Service made these decisions. They were the ones that this didn't involve the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council.
Now,
In fact, we heard this today or yesterday, first time, and one of the things we had complained to the Fish and Wildlife Service before was that they were not engaging the public to the extent the Department of Energy had engaged the public on what they're doing. And so I just have a note here in the notice I got from the Stewardship Council that Fish and Wildlife Service, first of all, they haven't even been attending the Stewardship Council meetings. They stopped doing that after the fire issue, which part of this notice is apparently they're not going to conduct a prescribed burn in 2016. That was told to us in this little message too, which I'm reading over. And they are examining options for engaging the local governments and community members, but has not settled on the best venue or how it might work with the Stewardship Council on issues of mutual interest. They haven't been reaching out to us.
Yeah,
So-
2 members of the Stewardship Council from Boulder attended this meeting last week, and they were dismayed that they had been kept out of the loop
Yeah.
by Fish and Wildlife Service. And I asked the question, how can Rocky Flats Stewardship Council meet their charter, which is to look after the concerns of the residents of the community and that whole issue if Fish and Wildlife doesn't communicate these important
I think we
items
share
to-
that concern.
Okay, so I'm personally very discouraged by any soft opening until.
They've already
yeah.
conducted tours,
Yeah.
by the way.
I know, we were informed that they have been in process, but the official documentation said 2017, if money becomes available for the construction of trails, et cetera. So anyway, then the last question I have, maybe it's a learning curve. When we approved Remington, we were told the price point at Remington was going to be in about the $450 to $550 price range, as I recall. Apparently, it's substantially more, and it's substantially more than what the cost, the increase in the price of homes would account for. So I'm just would like an answer sometime. It can be at a retreat. When we as a board approve a certain PD thinking we're providing housing in a certain range, do we have any control over that, or can the developer do whatever they want when they end up developing those homes?
As long as it complies with the PD, and it's very hard for us to have any control over that, basically. As long as the development and the houses that are constructed comply with that plan, then that's all we need.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Williams.
Well, I attended a number of meetings, some of which everyone else has too. The Hodgkin-Harris Reservoir was a great opening for our town, and I enjoyed just seeing all the water totally filled and overfilled. Never expected it to be that full. So kudos to everyone involved in that whole process, Boulder County, ourselves. It was probably one of the best processes we've ever been through. Also attended, let's see here, I'm looking through here, the budget meeting, and we do have another one. I encourage the public to come as well, although several people are like, budget meeting? No, thank you. But they're important, so please try to attend. The next one is, I believe, Wednesday, right? Or is it Thursday? No, it's Wednesday. It's a 2. It's a 2.
Wednesday at 2.
No, it changed to 2 from 3.
Yeah, it's a 2.
Yeah.
Well, I'm coming at 2. And then I do have, I think I'm still attending this, but there's going to be some sort of Dr. Cog TOD discussion. Do you know when that is?
It's August 31st, but I don't know the time. Do you know that?
Anybody?
The RTD, Dr. Cog planning, with us?
I thought it was at 1 o'clock.
It's at 1 o'clock in RTD in Denver.
We'll confirm that for sure.
Oh, it's,
Okay.
I thought it was here. No, it's
our-
in Denver?
I believe it's RTD's office.
Okay.
Okay.
But-
I'll have to-
Well, I'm going to be attending. I need to know where.
Yeah.
Do let me know as soon as you can, so I can put that on my calendar. And then I have a West Connect meeting at 7:30 in Arvada, at the Arvada Center. If anybody would like to join me, please come.
Tomorrow? Or when?
No, that'd be Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's
all.
it.
Okay, on August 11th, I attended the Hodgson Harris grand opening, Reservoir grand opening, re-grand opening. On the 12th, I went to the Boulder County Commissioner's Office meeting room for a community-wide EcoPass meeting, the third meeting with that group. That effort is still moving forward. There was some discussion about, we're kind of now getting into how do we pay for it and who pays for how much, and there was some initial discussion from staff and consultant going down the path of, well, if you've got more service like a community like Boulder, you should pay more than communities that have less service. But several, including myself, said that just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really matter how many buses pass by you. It matters the one that you're going to get on and ride. So there's still no estimate on what this is going to cost, whether it's going to be a property tax or a sales tax or a combination. It will be a ballot issue either way, and more to come on that. So August 13th, Trustee Dozal and I went to the Dr. Cog orientation meeting in Denver. I learned a lot about Dr. Cog that I didn't know. On the 18th, I went to Denver for the Denver Chamber of Commerce State of the City luncheon. And on the 19th, I participated in the last Storytime at Community Park event of the season, very well attended, and they're talking about doing a quarterly event moving forward, and I think it'd be a great thing to continue that, and really appreciate all of the effort of the Youth Leadership Council, all that they've done this past year. They've done a tremendous amount in a year's time, and that's just one of the examples of how they've helped do great things in our community. And then on the 20th, I went to Blackhawk for the ICSC Rocky Mountain chapter. This is the group that hosts the International Council of Shopping Centers that hosts the event in Las Vegas. This was kind of their local chapter meeting and conference where they bring together real estate people to kind of talk about trends in retail real estate. So it was good to attend that. I didn't have any role other than just attending and gathering information. One upcoming event, I'll be participating on the 4th of September in the Monarch Baseball Softball Hit-a-thon. So that will be, I'm sure it'll be an entertaining event to watch me try to hit balls. So, okay, that's all for me. Town manager? Town attorney? Town clerk?
Just a reminder that there's 3 weeks in between meetings. So in 2 weeks is Labor Day, and then 3 weeks. I thought I did. 3 weeks in between these two meetings. So the next meeting is in 3 weeks, not 2.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Hanson.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. For residents that don't get a chance to read Money Magazine, Superior was the #2 best place in the country to be a kid. And it wasn't just because of all the amenities and the proximity to ski resorts and all that kind of thing. They specifically called out our schools and mentioned Superior Elementary School got a perfect rating from greatschools.com. And then also Monarch High School was mentioned in the same article, and was also ranked in another article, number 350 on the top 500 high schools in the country, and no other BBSD high school was mentioned in that. So,
Not even Fairview?
no.
That's
Yeah,
shocking.
Yeah.
Great, thank you for bringing that up. I saw that as well, and that is great news for our community. All right, now we'll move on to public comment.
Start with you. Good evening, Mayor, Town Board, George Kuffner. I think you better rearrange your work sessions to include the general public. I was down here at 6:30 to speak to this meeting tonight and was cut down again. I'm tired of that. Ranger staff time to a certain amount of time. Ranger, whoever gives presentation to a certain amount of time, so general public will have a say-so in this work session. Okay? Please. Now, would you put that map back up there so I can talk about that Cold Creek that I've been talking about 10 years here? Every time I come down here, talk to a staff member, Director of Public Works, they say it's a board decision. They have already made a board decision about where this road is. 10 years ago, I come down here when Lisa Schumacher was here and asked her to have that road moved back to the north where it was before. It's a 60-foot right-of-way, and you've got it right in front of Kuffner's industrial area. Do you understand that? We have an industrial zoning there. The other map with the green there, please.
That's good.
Now it's amazing. Show me where 5th and 4th is. There way out there. Right there's the 4th.
Hey, Alex, there was another one that you pulled up, and I can see there's 3 PDFs that are up. One of them shows a better view of this. There you go.
Is that one?
Yeah.
Here's the existing.
Where's 4th?
Is this the garage?
Where's 4th? Fourth one goes all the way over. Anyway, on the green map there, you see how much space you have on the north and how much space is in front of the Kuffner's industrial area. We do not want no trees in front of those lots in the front there, and we do not want no curb there. We want to be able to get in and out of that property as we wish. We can't with curbs, climb curbs with cars, trucks, period. Now, I've come down here 10 years ago and asked that road to be shifted back to the north where it's supposed to be. Not just yesterday. Joe Cirilli don't know that. Williams don't know that. I've been down here several times about this. The other absent council member knows this. The other 3 don't. And Mayor, I don't know where you stand, but you were on the Planning Commission and should know that I've been down here about this. Why did we put that right up to our property line, that street, that sidewalk? Tell me. I'm asking the board. I'm not asking staff no more because I get the same answer, board decision. You spend $3 million in Rock Creek on roads up there in the last 3 years. Why in the hell can't we spend some money and get that street straightened out the way it's supposed to be? Not go beg a developer for 10 more feet into his own property for them houses. $800,000 getting 10 more feet cut off. You understand where I'm coming from? I hope you do. If you don't, you board members that's been on there a while can come and talk to me and I'll show you where the street's off. You got 8 feet on one side and 2 feet on the other. It starts from down here when the survey marks are off. I told you that they're off. Nobody wants to listen to somebody that knows something. Somebody's paid taxes here for 100 years, and you want to keep cutting it down. It ain't right. Show me another street in town that ain't centered. Show me another one. Any of them. You can't do it because they're all centered like they're supposed to, 60 foot wide. It ain't over this way so we can have more for over here for parking. You know what I'm talking about. I think you ought to go back and look at this and spend a little money and get it straightened out so people will be happy here. You know, I'm a taxpayer here for years. my family, and this ain't right. If anyone you want to come talk to me, fine. You can talk to my brother. He didn't come out. He's sick to talk about this. You got him upset, me upset, nothing. Go to staff, board decision. It was done during an interim public works director at the time, and I hope he ain't here no more. This was done. Put the big mounds in there. You couldn't see what they were doing. They just went ahead and done it. Now it's time for you people to straighten it out, and I mean it. Another thing, I got one more thing, ma'am. You're doing $1 million on a bridge down here. It's too narrow. Why didn't you have a 2-foot extension put on it? Have them drill in there and put some steel in it and pour 2 foot so it'd be wider. You know you got over 50 lots that's going to be developed down there, and it's medium residential. It ain't single family. We're going to wait till they build and then say we got to do it. They got the bridge open now. Appropriate little money. Do like they did up here. Put an extension on it. 2 foot will take the problem away. Not one car waiting for another car to get through. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment.
Daryl McCool, Coal Creek Drive. I just wanted to talk about the piece that you guys were looking at in the work session about well, actually that's right here. I appreciate that the project is underway, but I don't think that that means that we have to rush to decision. I was looking back at approved plans, and they only ever show the south side of Coal Creek ever being done. The north side has never been brought in front of Planning Commission or board, as far as I can tell. And the earliest that anybody's seen them is last week. So rushing to decision about what is supposedly approved plan is only one half of the street, not the other side of the street. In addition, I'm really concerned that we haven't looked at not only the parking on both sides of the street, but the grade of the street, the bikers. It's a huge bikeway. When you drive up that road, it is blinding in the afternoon. So we have parking on both sides of the street, we have bikers going up and down the street, and we have a disaster, in my opinion. I don't know why with a neighborhood park we need 145 parking spaces. We're looking at the school parcel, and we're looking at 30 parking spaces possibly. So why do we need 145 parking spaces? Why haven't we looked at this as a complete whole? I really would appreciate if we don't rush this project because we're under construction. We've known since January that we wanted a change done, and we are now in August, and we are not, this is the first time we're seeing plans as of last week. I probably have more, but that's you know, those are my main concerns, adding parking to both sides of the street, adding more parking, concerned about and why aren't we looking at it as a bikeway? Why aren't we considering our multimodal stuff and looking at this as a complete plan and not just finishing the roadway because Remington homes are going in? Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment?
Hi, I'm Bob McCool, 312 West Coal Creek Drive. I think the last time I spoke to this whole area of original town, Sagamore, Marketplace area, and how it's you know, I don't think I use dumping ground, but it's almost everything we can think of. Let's just put it down there because it's near 36 and it's a convenient place to get lots of people down to buy stuff. And it feels like very little thought is being put into how to reduce traffic. We've got a street here that, you know, documentation, our own comp plan, our own land use code, 800 cars per day is the right thing for a residential street with back out driveways like we have coming along Coal Creek Drive. 1,400 cars today in 2000? 2000 when we finish this? 2,000 cars a day going past my intersection now. When I moved here, I swear to God, there were less cars than I could count on two hands coming down that street. I'm okay with the development. I'm okay with the marketplace, but we're not thinking about the neighborhood. We've got cut-through traffic like no tomorrow coming down through there because it's too hard to turn down Marshall Road and go into the marketplace. There aren't 1,400 cars a day coming into the neighborhoods. That's not what's going on. It's a ridiculous amount of cut-through traffic. And they don't care, and they don't pay attention, and they don't stop at stop signs, and they get pissed when you yell at them. And it's not okay. And so now you come along, and I'll back George here a bit. When they did the markers here to do the streetscape, which I'm a big supporter of, obviously with Daryl and I stood up here, we wanted the sidewalks, love what we did. Those markers were 3 feet inside my fence line. But did that raise a red flag? Yo, we have a problem here. 3 feet inside of our fence, of our existing fence, is where the markers were going down, reflecting what. So I don't know if somebody thought that was center, but it wasn't even close to center. It's not as high a priority for me as George, but he's right. This was all set. Boom, we got 2 feet on our side. They got 6 feet on their side. So bonus for the people on the north. They got 6 extra feet a yard on theirs. Obviously, it's bothering the governors. So that kink is like that. I believe truly that the road up here is centered correctly. So, but more importantly to me, I was shocked. And Daryl's right. I was looking at the plans, and I remember talking about this at the Planning Commission. The idea was, let's continue the streetscape. I guess I had in my head that the streetscape would continue, that you'd have bump outs and there'd be some parking there, and that's cool. Didn't really occur to me that there aren't any back out driveways. Oh, okay, well that's going to add about 15 parking spaces because we don't have any back out driveways and we have a park. And now we're going to eliminate the bump outs halfway through. We're just going to make it a long stretch and not do bump outs, in between each block like we did down here. So now all of a sudden, boom, you've added a crazy amount of parking spaces to the area. And this is a community park, and that is a residential street. And we don't have an HOA, and we don't have a planned community like Rock Creek has up there. So we have to think hard, and we have to plan and pay attention to these details because you don't want 2,000 cars coming up our street. It's a residential street. Kids play on it. There are 30 kids that live on there that play on the sidewalks. I know we can't play on the streets in Coal Creek. That's gone. Okay, you get that. We understand that. But you don't do that. Get it back down to 800. I mean, I'd love to see. Let's sit down together and think about how to do this. Can we put something at the entranceways in here that says, you know what, this is a neighborhood traffic only, please. I get that they're public streets, but we can appeal to the majority of people in town to say, don't come through here. This isn't how you should be getting to the marketplace. This is a neighborhood street, right? And do that on both sides. Make it clear that this isn't a place for you to come through to get to the marketplace. It's a place for you're driving into a neighborhood. And continue that. And if we don't do that, then, we're going to have 50 more homes here. I don't know what Kuffner's have in mind someday, but that's all they have all my multifamily, right? So that could add someday a bunch of homes. And Sandy talks about beefing up the marketplace and adding more homes. Let's just remember that this is just there's not a whole lot of access in here, not a whole lot of places to get people out. So I'm probably over time. I don't see lights anymore. Maybe that went away, but
oh, you're still on the yellow light.
Oh, am I still on the yellow light? Oh,
right there.
But I think you get my point. Let's slow down a little bit and think about what we're doing, and hopefully maybe reduce the traffic and make this stay a neighborhood kind of area. So thank you.
Okay, thanks for the comments. Any additional public comment? Okay. Yes. Okay, one more.
Amazing overhead presentation. My name is Pete Mestimer. I mostly live at 100 Superior Plaza Way at Superior Liquor. I come before you today with a not so impressive overhead presentation, but one that I think will give some validity to what I say. There you go. I'll cue you or I can do it, whichever is easier. Superior Liquor opened in June of 2000. And at the time we opened, we were basically surrounded by Costco to the west, Conoco to the southwest, and the beautiful Shamrock gas station, I believe is what it was, maybe Total, but I'm not sure, that was directly next to us where Brakes Plus is. At the time we opened the building, SoftBank was our tenant upstairs. There is common ownership between Superior Plaza and Superior Liquor, but not identical ownership. So the interests of one are not necessarily in concert with the other. Nothing yet. I'll start at one for obvious reasons. Okay. When we were out there, we were pretty much surrounded by the prairie and the desert, and kind of betting on the idea that Superior would develop the way most people thought that it would. We've been very happy with the economic growth surrounding our business for the last 15 years, but we also understand that some retailers in Superior have been challenged and failed in a pretty local area for us. We're excited about the changes that are coming up in Superior. Very excited. We've waited 15 years to see a lot of these come to fruition. The construction of the diverging Diamond Overpass, combined with the construction on US 36, has caused our traffic to drop about 8% in the last 14 months. However, the sales volume during that time has held pretty steady, which means that most of our customers have chosen to come less often and buy more while they're there, which has been good for our business and certainly has allowed us to continue to stay flat through this growth. With the completion of both projects dangerously close, I cross my fingers, especially the 36 corridor, anticipating our jump to the next level of sales is what we're all anticipating and looking forward to. Some of the recent changes, though, in the building have been concerning to me as the managing partner of the liquor store. We've been mostly empty upstairs, and with the excitement of the town center, we've been able to fill the upstairs part of the building, which is roughly 56,000 square feet. And with that fill comes parking needs, and it's interesting we're talking about parking on the same time that you're talking about the new development or the new park. We have a slightly different plea, though, and that is we need more parking, not that we think that the parking that's been allocated is too much. Envision, which is a security video company, has taken most of the upstairs. Stuart Title has put their administrative offices up there. Edward Jones has had a small investment office there for quite some time. And then we expect to close on the final 3,000 square feet in about the next 2 weeks. So we're very excited about the building filling and the strength of those extra people, both for Old Chicago and for ourselves, as well as it being an indication of the confidence that people have in the town center that's coming forward. I want to step back to 2013 when there was discussion about the town center and quote basically two of the current trustees. Sandy Pennington said regarding the development of the core of the downtown area, the center of this community center, the core is significantly underparked. We need to deal with these big issues that can make or break the enjoyment of the town center for both the resident and the visitor. Trustee Gogoras agreed, stating that inadequate parking would be the worst thing for the Superior Town Center. If the people are frustrated driving up and down looking for a space, there are other places they can go, he said. And that was in the Boulder Daily Camera in August of 2013. We feel the same way about our situation. For those who shop at our store and have been there during holiday time, I think you've all been frustrated by the inability to find a parking space. And that's with the upstairs being mostly empty. There are 204 parking spaces at Superior Plaza. Told you it would be pretty impressive. So that's a map of our building footprint. We actually go back behind Brakes Plus in property ownership to the northwest. The property that's marked Brakes Plus parking in the middle left up there is actually our property. We've traded this property over here, this parking from them. This is on their property, but much more convenient for the front of our store. The parking spots in red have been allocated for Superior Liquor, and there are 50 of those, plus 2 handicap spots that are in the front. but are available to anybody who needs the handicap parking, whether they're shopping in our store or not. They're going to be doing some repainting to identify those with the new tenants coming in to make it easy for them to understand where to park. Currently, I have our employees parking out on the southwest of our store on town property in the parking spaces that face west that have been graciously allocated for use for the skating rink and for us, have been for about 10 years or so. So we basically looked at what was happening. How do I get back? Just hit escape? No. Sorry. Great. Thank you. So we looked at the two lots, and these two lots were under an agreement. And these two lots up here, and we are right above them, but these two lots right here were under an agreement that fell through several weeks ago. And we found out about it falling through and the potential availability of those two lots, and decided that it would make sense for us at this point, in order to continue to grow our business with the growth of Superior, to put a bid in on one or both of those lots. Tell me where I was again. Here. So the satellite of that area shows that these are the two lots, lot 1 and 2. So we put a bid in to purchase lot number 2. And we did that basically because we need more parking for us to be a viable business in our current location. And during the last 12 months, the Superior Liquor has collected sales tax revenues for the town of Superior of roughly $500,000. And we would like to see that number go up for you and go up for us. So I hope that there's an opportunity for us to succeed in the bidding and move forward with growth of our store and the parking available for our store. And I just wanted to be here in case there were any questions that I could answer. Yes?
I don't think we should do
No,
any
okay,
questions,
well-
no.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank you
your
for the
time.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 11 is presentations. We don't have any. Item 12 is consent agenda. We've pulled consent agenda C and D. So we'd like to go ahead with do the ones we pulled first? Or approve?
Approve.
Okay, let's approve, motion to approve consent agenda items A and B.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Sorelli, second by trustee Hansen. All those in favor? Passes unanimous. All right, we'll move on to 12C. Trustee Hansen, you pulled that?
Yes. My two questions on this. Let's see. Oh, so we don't. Do we do staggered terms with this? I'm sorry. Staggered terms with this advisory committee, or no?
No, I don't believe
'Cause
so.
we were 1 year, and now the proposals go 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So we don't. There's not an interest in. And I'm just asking.
No, I think because you have kind of a stagger already with the grades. Those kids, we anticipate those kids that are in the lower grades, the younger kids, are going to continue forward and be repointed.
So 8th graders would be there for potentially 5 years.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing has to do with seniors. I know there's no seniors on it now, but in this resolution it says.
There is seniors.
I thought we said there was no seniors. Well, maybe
Currently.
for this year.
Mhm.
So this new school year, there's
Mhm.
now seniors. Okay,
Right.
got it.
Yes.
So it says terms of all members shall be 2 years, beginning September 1 and ending August 31st 2 years later, provided that a senior in high school may serve on a 1-year term. So and then there's other things about removing members if they miss X number of meetings
Right.
unexcused. So if you have, and maybe this is immaterial, but I think it still needs to be stated, that if you have an opening come up in December of a student's senior year, and a senior decides to be on that committee, they get appointed there, are they only there through August 31st, or will they be there for a year, like it says on here?
Through the end of the term, which would be August 31st.
So I think so then that it should say that, because it says that a senior will be on there for a year. And that would actually, in that scenario, it could be 6 months. They wouldn't be able to be on there any longer than that. So I think that it should be through their senior year, not for a calendar year. Does that make sense?
It can be just make it term, you know,
Yeah, I
1-year
agree.
term, and then it ends on the 31st always.
And-
Yeah, or a
and
2-year
that's what-
term.
Yeah, the terms are typically done, if someone takes a partial term, the term is still considered to be from August 31st through September 1st, or from September 1st, excuse me, through August 31st. The term remains the same.
Right.
In that case, the senior would just simply be appointed to fill a partial term.
So, for example, we have some interviews that we have to conduct. If one of those happens to be a senior and you appoint that
Right.
student, they would serve through August 31st, which would take them through their senior year.
Okay. I still think that we should actually say that in here, because it does say that last line, provided that a senior in high school may serve a 1-year term.
Should we just say less than a 2-year term?
No.
Okay, if we start changing, if a term is always 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
they could serve a partial, either 1 or 2 years. We could just simply say, how about this? We could say that a senior in high school may serve a partial term. I mean, if the terms remain the same, it's just a matter of when they're appointed.
When they start,
I
right.
would actually maybe reword that, provided that a senior in high school may serve up until the August 31st of their senior year. Because that gives them through the summer. Because this doesn't say that. It says that they could be there a year. So if you come on in January of your senior year, then you theoretically would be maybe anticipating you're going to be there through December of that year.
No, because if you're appointed in
'Cause that's a
January,
year.
you would be appointed for a partial term, and that term would always end on August 31st. The
And then they
terms
would have
always
to-
end on August 31st.
Okay.
No
So-
matter when.
So
you
then I
start.
would just clarify that there so that they don't think that they're going to serve for 1-year term. Because that's what it says, is 1 year. And I don't read it that way. I mean, I think of 12 months as a year, not 6 months ending August 31st.
Chris, why does the attorney's proposed language of up to a 2-year term? We've defined the terms as September 1 to
Beginning
August
Sep-
31st, so why do you feel the language of a senior may serve up to a 2-year term? Why do you feel that does not work?
Well, because my point is if you have a senior that isn't currently on that committee, they decide they want to be on it because there's a vacancy in January of their senior year of high school, so they've essentially got 5 months of school left.
Right.
And you say 2 years, and that, they might be thinking that they're going to be on there.
Up to a 2-year term, yes.
Or we could say less than 2 years. Like I said, we could say less than a 2-year term as well, and that way the
Yeah.
senior would serve, because the senior doesn't have 2 years left.
Mhm.
So we could say less than a 2-year term. That-
Or up through their senior year, or something to that effect. So it's very clear that when they're done with school, they're done with this. Because this doesn't tell me that they're done with this committee when they're done with school.
But isn't the word term defined
Yes,
in
it is.
there?
Yeah.
And that's the operative thing.
Right.
The term is what
Already
you're
defined.
talking, that's already defined. So, I mean, this works the same way that all of our other committees work. I mean, you get, someone resigns before the end of their term, the replacement serves out the rest of their term, not a 4-year term, so.
Okay, so I would make that
Maybe-
clear then, and not say, end the sentence that a senior can serve up to 1 year. Or serve on a 1-year term.
What if we did this? Provided that a senior in high school may serve a 1-year term ending on August 31st after the senior year is over. Or, I'm trying to come up with an alternative.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
It's
because
getting messy.
It is.
their senior year ends in May.
Right. How about ending in August 30? Sorry, I'm just trying to think of a creative solution here. I don't want to change the term part because it always works the same way. The term itself always ends on August 31st.
Well, okay, or provided that a senior in high school may serve a
Through.
1-year term or ending at the end of their
Ending August
senior year.
31st.
Following their senior year.
Yeah.
But that's already defined. I mean, the term,
Right.
the word term is already defined as something that ends on August 31st. I
I like Kendra's language that says may serve less than a 2-year term.
I think that would cover it in any circumstance. What if we did this? What if we went up to the top where it says, terms of all members shall be 2 years?
No more than 2 years.
So we could do that.
Well, no,
No.
that runs afoul with the 8th grader that wants to serve for many years.
Well, but a term, then they get reappointed for next two-year term. See, that's what it is.
Okay,
You're not
a term.
appointed for the, yeah.
Okay.
You're appointed to each term.
getting a
You
little
could get
heady
appointed in the
here.
middle of the year, too. You could be a ninth grader appointed in the middle of the year, too.
Okay.
Then what?
Trustee Cirilli.
It's just brought up, maybe it's a stupid question now that hadn't occurred to me, but do we automatically assume you have to be in school to be on this committee?
The original resolution actually says in grades 8 through 11, which we should probably change as well. But it says all members shall be current residents of the town in grades 8 through 11 based upon the fall school year calendar.
Why did we not do through 12?
That wasn't in the.
Because you're
first
going to do a
amendment.
two-year term, so you're going to be there 11th.
No, no, the original.
The original, you made the decision to only have juniors, I think because, well, no, then it was only
No,
one-year
that's not
terms.
correct.
You're right.
No,
You're right.
that's totally
How
not
about we
correct.
table this? We'll bring it back.
No. No. No.
Do you want to, I mean, I can to make that change right now. I'll just change it to be 12.
I would like to raise another issue. Did we establish maximum number of terms in this? Because we just
Yes.
had the example fly here that an eighth grader could serve 5 terms.
5 years.
5 years, and we had the discussion before this Youth Leadership Council was formed. We want to give the opportunity for a lot
We
of
also
kids-
don't want to kill it
a
either.
lot of kids kids to participate. So the question of always having the same people on here probably needs a little more thought.
Originally there were 5, it was a 5-year, members may serve up to 5 terms. That was taken out.
Because that was 1 year,
Right.
okay?
That was taken out.
What
of
was it
this.
replaced with?
But there was no term, there was no limit.
Except they have to be done at the end of their senior year.
Right, except that.
So there
Which-
is the limit.
There is
That
the
is
limit.
the limit.
That
That
is
is
the
the
limit.
limit.
Only students in grades 8 through 12 can serve, so therefore they could start in 8 and go through 12. That would be 5 total years or 2.5 terms.
Okay. Is there general consensus we need to change the language, or is the language okay as it is? Or, I know Trustee Manson's not, I know you're not sold on that language.
Well, we went back and forth when we did the resolutions for the other committees, and we were very specific on certain things. And I think that if you have a senior that graduates in May, they don't plan to go to college and maybe till the next summer, so they've got time off, they may be anticipating to stick around on there into the following year. So I think we need to be clear that if they're, once they're done in school, they're done.
Mhm.
And
At the
this
end-
doesn't tell me that.
If
In
you're a
the resolution
senior,
it does.
your term ends on August 31st of your senior year.
Okay, so then take out serve.
You're actually
1-year
saying
term.
May, upon their May graduation.
Well, I guess we can give them through August 31st because it's,
That's the term.
Yeah,
term.
that's a term.
that they haven't started college yet, so
Mhm.
I would say that that's fine. But to me, it's just misleading that it's 1 year and not through August 31st.
And I would not be surprised if most of them
Gone.
stop attending
Mhm.
after the beginning of May.
You're probably right, but why not make that really clear?
So if all you have to do is say in the senior year ending on August 31st.
There you
know,
go.
Yeah, the term
Fine.
seniors ending on August
Yeah.
31st.
Yep.
All seniors
Senior in high
term-
school may serve a 1-year term ending
On-
senior year, August 31st.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, if-
perfectly fine.
Okay.
Whatever, however you wordsmith
Okay,
that, you got
it.
that, right.
And I am gonna add a change as well, if the board wants to say in grades 8 through 12. Because
Yes.
the
Yes.
original resolution said 11, and that should have been changed as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. All
Okay,
right,
can
so-
we read that back and then vote on it? and
Okay, so now
put
section
this
1
to
of this
rest?
resolution that you're looking at will say subsections B and C of section 3 of resolution number R39, series 2014, are hereby repealed and reenacted as follows. Subsection B will now state, all members shall be current residents of the town in grades 8 through 12, based upon the fall school year calendar. Terms of all subsection C, terms of all members shall be 2 years, beginning September 1st and ending August 31st, 2 years later, provided that a senior in high school may serve a 1-year term, ending on August 31st following his or her senior year.
Okay.
Can I make a clarification? Did you say resolution 39?
That's
I think
what-
it's should be
37.
It's
37.
Oh, it's, oh, I have it.
Was 39 the original one?
The original one, yes, it's not, I'm not talking 37, this resolution.
Okay,
I
I'm
was
sorry.
reading from the resolution itself.
Okay.
And it was
I just
39,
wanted
2000,
clarification.
series 2014.
So for this resolution, though, we're going to amend that. I mean, we're amending this one to reflect what you just said.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Williams,
I was just going to call a motion.
proceed.
I'd like to call a motion for resolution number R-37, Series 2015, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior modifying membership terms and meeting procedures for the Youth Leadership Council.
As amended.
As amended by our attorney, city attorney, town attorney.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Williams and second by Trustee Hansen. Any discussion? All those in favor? Passes unanimous. Thank you. All right, consent agenda item 12D, adoption of a resolution approving an amendment with Buxton for economic development services. Trustee Pennington.
I actually just pulled this because I didn't actually think it appropriate to be in a consent agenda since we really hadn't discussed it in a public meeting, and it does involve the expenditure of $50,000. Having said that, I'm a bit uncomfortable moving so fast on this while our budget discussions are still in process, because in the budget meeting on Friday, we talked about the full scope of our economic development activities, and I think it was still in a state of flux on if we're going to do Buxton and/or continuing our third-party consultant, one or both, and if one, which one? So I was a little uncomfortable with moving so quickly on this. So I just want to open it up for general discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem Williams.
And I agree. I think I would have pulled it too. You beat me to the punch, or actually I allowed you to beat me to the punch. And I do recall that we were discussing the fact that we were going to see how the first year went with both economic development parties and go from there and see how they work together or how it works for the town.
That's correct.
In tandem. And so I'm hoping that that is still something that we're going to consider, and I do believe it warrants discussion.
And just to clarify, this is we're just talking about for 2015.
The remainder of
For the remainder of 2015, that's what we're talking about.
Right, which is not what is in the budget.
Correct.
It was already budgeted for the 2015 as well, right?
2016, yeah.
So there's nothing in the budget for 2015.
There is money in the budget for economic development services, not specifically for this contract. However, having said that, I've gone over the budget with our finance director, and we can cover this cost this year.
So let me ask, why wouldn't we just begin this contract in 2016, like in January?
Well, I mean, we certainly can do that. I guess I took from the last meeting that there was general support for this, and when it comes to economic development, there's no reason in my mind to wait if there's something we see that could be beneficial to the town, and we should get started as soon as possible. If there's additional services that will help us recruit retailers, and we have still 2 pads in the marketplace that are vacant, that have been vacant since the center opened back in 1999. So anything we can do to help with that and with the town center as it starts to build out, and we still have vacancies in Rock Creek Village. So I guess that's how I was proceeding on this.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Trustee Sorelli and then Dozell.
So I have a totally different question since we're discussing this. The agreement in the compensation part discusses the maximum amount of payment. And then it says if contractor completes the scope of services for less than the maximum amount, they'll be paid a lesser amount, but I don't see any kind of itemized listing of how we'll know that they should be paid less or how much less, or
Yeah,
I
that's
don't understand
standard language in our agreement,
It's
in all of our
meaningless.
agreements, yeah.
Okay.
We
So
just
it's
want to
a
have
fixed
the
price.
opportunity, if for some reason the services came in less, that we would be able to.
Less than what? That's what I'm trying to.
It just enables if they come back after this agreement is approved and say, you know what, based on the scope of services and what we know now, we could do this for 30,000, we need the ability to say, great, 30,000, awesome. So that's all it's supposed to
But
be.
our anticipation is the scope of services will be $50,000.
All right, just, the language makes no sense to me, that's all. Which is not good in a contract.
My questions kind of followed that, but I was like, I'm kind of surprised, I didn't see that in there, that this was, that we're actually contracting for the services in 2015. And then what we were talking about on Friday is for another year of services for 2016. And it says in here that the payment will happen upon completion of the entire scope of services. So when do you anticipate the entire scope of services to be completed? I thought that's why we were talking about it for 2016, because we were trying to get it in the budget. Because we're not going to pay it until the scope of services are done. So are we anticipating that we'll be paying something this year, and then again, we'd have to consider paying for the second year in 2016?
So I anticipate having a payment being made this year, that is correct. And then if we want to consider a renewal of this contract and services, that would come back to you in approximately a year from the date of approval, or prior to that, of this agreement.
So
And
how
Lisa
long does it
McKay
take?
is here from Buxton.
How long
if
does
you have
it take
questions as
to
well.
do this work, to identify the 20?
That would be a question for Buxton and Lisa.
Why don't we have
Yeah.
Lisa McKay come up and address
Okay.
that question?
So our analysis
If you
portion
could,
is...
you might, I'm sorry, Lisa, if you start with your name and.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Lisa
address.
McKay, Vice President of Community ID for Buxton. And thanks again for having me back, Mayor and Council. Our analysis portion, the analytic portion of that, and the market analysis and all the research that goes into this is between 45 and 60 business days. So we don't work in a vacuum. At each deliverable, we'll have a checkpoint with staff. They'll approve that deliverable, and then we move on. So it's about a 3-month process, which was another reason that we suggested getting started prior to January in preparation for ICSE May. Because if you start in January, then you've got a 3-month process, you've got getting acclimated to the data, and then ICSE is literally a month later. So it doesn't give you a lot of opportunity to set those meetings.
Okay, thank you. Another question then, so who and how do we decide that the scope of services is complete and that we can actually pay you?
Right. Final deliverable is when we deliver the iPad and also have the summary of findings back to council. So when we complete, we'll suggest another meeting where the account manager and myself will share with you summary and findings, and then we proceed with the execution strategies, which is the outreach to individual retailers, developers, and brokers, that deal makings, kind of all of that execution that goes into our partnership.
So you send that out, the packets out, and said, congratulations, you've been identified as a great
Sure.
opportunity for the town of
It
Superior.
gets uploaded to the iPad, and we deliver the iPad in person, and then we'll do the summary and findings
You
meeting.
deliver the iPad in person to the client, or the potential?
To you, the client.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, to this
When we
client,
do final
not to the
deliverable.
retailer.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
we get an iPad back, and then as a town, so you don't send it out to the 20 identified retailers?
That's the execution part. So that's after we deliver summary and
Mhm.
findings and it's been accepted by you, then we start the outreach to the retailers.
So you send it out, but then who actually goes out and talks to the retailers?
Our account managers, and then we
Okay.
ask that your staff follow up.
You just tell the retailers that have been identified that, congratulations, you've been identified as a great fit for Superior?
We
and then-
basically begin contacting them and
Uh-huh.
sending them the marketing information. Then we provide that contact information to you, and we would basically say, Matt will be following up with you in the next 7 business days to further discuss this opportunity. And then if we can secure those meetings or those site visits, then we can come back and help you execute those meetings if need be.
Okay. And so that's part of the 50,000. You
Absolutely.
can help execute
Absolutely.
those meetings and attend those meetings and
Yes.
have a conversation
And all
about
that travel
the data.
cost is on us.
Okay.
All that's part of our agreement.
Because that wasn't clear in the document that, it was pretty much, we get it handed off, and then it's up to us as a town staff to contact but that's great to hear that you are part of those meetings as well.
Correct.
And then, so, the concern I have is that this seems to be happening within the vacuum of the town hall here. And we're identifying potential opportunities for Marketplace and Superior Town Center. And I don't see how we make sure that the people that actually have that responsibility to identify opportunities, retail opportunities in the Marketplace and the Town Center are engaged in this and supportive of this. Supporting in that they go along, they participate, and because it's their responsibility to identify the people, not us. They have to secure their tenants for these places. And one thing that I'm kind of concerned about is, I thought we were starting this next year based on the budget and all of this, not thinking that we're going to do it now before the end of the year. I think that the timing for the Superior Town Center is a little early, because we get everybody excited this year, and then that's kind of lost opportunity for us because there's nothing that they can actually get their hands around yet for the Town Center. Now, in the Marketplace, maybe that would be a little bit different. So I think we're kind of getting our cart ahead of our horse here a little bit. I was thinking it was for next year. I didn't realize we're talking about doing something soon and then again next year.
But it really, as she said, it really hinges a lot on that timing of the ICSC conference in May and getting up to speed before that. I mean, we've got the Marketplace, we've got Rock Creek Village, we've got multiple sites around. I agree with you that it's hard to have a discussion about a property that doesn't even have streets in it yet. You can't get anybody interested in that. But I think this is really about filling our holes that we've got and have had for a long time. Trustee Payne?
We have Katie Press here. I would like her to come up to the mic because I would like to know, Katie, if you have experience working with Buxton and how you would see a relationship, economic development efforts that involve both you and Buxton proceeding.
Good evening. I'm Katie Press. I'm sorry. Well, to be honest with you, hearing how she just explained it, I don't think that you would use both of us. This would be an either-or proposition. So if it's her intent, or if it's Buxton's intent to reach out to the retailers directly and engage them on a direct basis, it's an open conversation. I'm going to tell you, you're going to have some issues with Brixmor on that approach, and the brokers who are working with Brixmor, which would be Legend Retail Group, who feel that they're doing some of that already. To me, the more appropriate way to come at this would be to use the data component to understand who your target list is, and then working through your relationships that you have to try and see if you can get those folks to pay a little more closer attention than they have had in the past. But we've had an awful lot of interaction with Brixmor to try and get movement with certain retailers, both on the vacant Ross space and the vacant Sports Authority space. And as Matt and I can both attest, we don't get a whole lot of interaction with us in that capacity, both from either in terms of the retailers that they're trying to talk to, or that we can try and influence. And so, as presented, and their program as presented, you would not need both of us. It would be, you would either pick Buxton or you would continue as you've had in the past. And so it's really and if you feel like that's a more effective tool for you guys moving forward and something you think would provide you with some different alternatives, I totally understand that, and I'm happy enough to step aside when my contract ends at the end of the year.
Do you have the same sentiment about the town center?
No, the town center is a different animal, and as we've talked about before, the town center, follows guidelines that are not consistent with the traditional retailing community, and it takes a different approach to try and get some movement with that. And so, in that perspective, I think that they could be really useful. in terms of helping to identify the target areas and target retailers who might be a fit for that, and trying to start to generate some interest and excitement for it because of what it is and how. And you know, right now the conventional retail market has really steered away from the town center. One, they can't see it yet. It doesn't have any perspective for them. They've seen the plans, but they don't see how it materializes. And so if there's an alternative tool out there to help try and generate some interest in that capacity and get people a little more willing to participate in those conversations, I think that that could be really beneficial. I think it will be challenging, just to be brutally frank with you, I think it will be very challenging for you to use any service, not just Buxton service, to get Brixmor to pay attention and believe that we know more than they do about what should be happening in their shopping center. And Matt and I have had a lot of conversation over the last 2 years about how to try and shift the dynamic of the relationship with Brixmor. And I don't know that any service is going to be able to really come in here and shift that dynamic without there being more of a carrot and stick approach between the town board and town staff and Brixmor. And to me, if you're really going to start to really impact what's happening with Brixmor and how they approach the shopping center dynamics, you're going to have to really look at perhaps restructuring the agreement that exists with the financial agreement and creating some different incentive tools, and then really trying to take a bigger partnership position at the table with them, which you deserve to have because of the partnership you have with them. But you're going to need to use both a carrot and a stick with them to get them to pay more attention. You know, I talk to Matthew Berger all the time. I talk to Christopher Burton all the time. I talk to Blake Skinner, who works with Christopher all the time, about what transitioning in the shopping center. And they're very slow, methodical, and they have a very specific idea of what they think they're going to do over there. And I don't think that there's any service that's going to convince them that they should be doing something differently.
But if a business came to them and said, we've identified this as a great place to be, they would talk to them, wouldn't they?
They're out talking to everybody all the time. You know, the difference is Ethan Allen's pad is owned by Ethan Allen. Ethan Allen just fired all their real estate people. So.
Well, and I mean, having met with both of them in Las
Yeah.
Vegas, they're not doing anything.
No.
They're
And
doing
so,
absolutely
you know, whether
nothing.
I mean, we could bring them 10 leads, and the idea that they might actually act on any of them is going to be a challenge because they're not motivated in particular to get rid of their surplus real estate at this point.
Well, the director of real estate seemed interested. I just wasn't seeing much.
They've all been let go since ICSC.
Okay. They're brokers or
No, Tammy Lord's still the broker for them. And
Okay.
so, you know, and you know, Tammy's sitting on her hands at this point waiting to see who the new regime's going to be within Ethan Allen and who's going to be a decision maker with Ethan Allen. So, you know, those are the challenges that you have with some of the real estate that's going on with Brixmor. Brixmor has tight control over what happens with those pads. Case in point, the Arby's. Arby's has had chance to regenerate that building into some particular users. Those users were competitive with other users within the marketplace, and Brixmor denied their opportunity. So we've had those conversations. So there are extenuating circumstances when you start talking about something like the marketplace that I think have to be taken into consideration when you start talking about just generating leads and where those leads are going to go to. It's not as simple as, you know, going through a retailing list and making a phone call to each of those folks and seeing if you're interested in going into the marketplace. Much of that work has already been done over the last 24 months between Brixmor's leasing agents and Legends Retail Group and interaction with us here at the town. So,
A question either to Matt or to you, Katie. What do we know about the process Ranch Capital is following in terms of attracting retail interest? I mean, I don't even know if they already have an existing agreement with.
I mean, they have an agreement with Legends and DTZ. I think that company's changed names again, but to go out and recruit office. They're really focusing on office. I mean, I think Main Street needs to get built. Some of the buildings on there need to get built, and then, you know, that's when the retailers will start to come forward
and be looking for space.
So you don't think Ranch
I mean, unless
Capital is
there's a-
making an
it's a-
effort
some
towards
type of a-
retail at this point?
No, I think they're very interested in, it's just the timing. It's a
Mhm.
timing thing.
Yeah, when we start talking about Main Street retail, and we've talked about this before, this is going to be a situation where they're responding to an existing opportunity that is in front of them to respond to. So, you know, when we talk with Randy, I mean, I think that he sees the retailing component being later on in the phasing for him, and I think that's a fair statement. With some other building blocks happening before he's going to start looking to generate the retail component. I think a good understanding of what that retail could be and what sectors of the retailing would be highest and best users within that would be information that's worth understanding and being able to share with the folks trying to develop the town center.
Okay, thank you. Follow up for Lisa, maybe talk a little bit about, I mean, clearly you've dealt with Brixmor and,
Sure.
and many other Brixmors of the world. Talk
Sure,
to us
and-
about
and
how you deal with those issues.
We are not a direct competitor to brokers or local level developers. We're not brokers. We're not meant to broker deals. We're the leading analytics firm. We're third-party market validation for you. The reason we do some of the outreach is just to kind of minimize that lead time and that cold calling that a lot of our brokers have to do. But all of our smart communities, I mean, we work with communities like San Diego, like Dallas, that have many developers, many brokers involved, and that have, a lot of opportunity. So no shortage of opportunity. But if they don't know what the appropriate retailers that fit their market are, then they are not able to then hold accountable anyone doing any developments within their community. So they utilize our services to say, is this the absolute best use? Is it unique? Does it elevate our profile? And can we hold accountable the people that are in place that are recruiting on our behalf? We want to be a part of that conversation. If we don't know who we are, then we're not sure where we're going. And we want to be a part of that conversation. We want to be a part of ICSC. We want to be a part of this development project. We want to have a seat at this table. And without third-party analytic data and just thinking anecdotally about what might be a possibility for your community, it's very difficult to understand and have the same level of intelligence that retailers use to make a site selection decision. So that is what we're offering you, is that same level of intelligence, that seat at that table, third-party market validation, the absolute industry leader in this space in terms of analytic data, a very, very granular level of information that many of our we work with Invesco, we work with Lincoln Properties, we work with NIA Capital, we work with some of the biggest names in the industry, and I can tell you the reason they work with us is because prior to, they weren't using the level of granularity that we have to offer.
Okay. Additional questions?
Yeah.
Trustee Hans?
So, Matt, what do you see Randy's time frame to start building a Main Street and making spaces available?
Well, the infrastructure will start this year. You'll see the wet and dry utilities start to go in, and then concrete and pavement. As far as buildings, I think in 2016 we should see some development applications for Main Street or blocks on Main Street.
I thought I recall Randy saying that once he got to a certain percentage of commitment to the buildings or retail and commercial that he would start building.
Yeah, I mean, so next week, our next meeting, you'll see a concept plan that they're going to bring forward to you and present, and it has to do with the town square or in areas around there. They're working with a hotel group to try to get a deal finalized there, and it's on Main Street, close to Boulder Valley Ice and Indoor Sports. If that occurs...
That's the boutique
Yeah.
hotel. Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be your first building on Main Street to start. And then I think from there it just progresses.
So
it depends on them finalizing deals, but I would anticipate something in 2016.
Okay. So if we were to move forward with Buxton now, get the data compiled, we get everything done and start sending out in January, start developing the relationships, we meet with potential retailers at ICSC,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a handful that are really interested in being here. Then Randy starts at that time submitting what he needs to submit to
It could be at that time, could be prior to that time. I mean, depending on what office or residential, because they have residential above the retail on Main Street, they could bring that forward, or if they have an office, they're working with, trying to finalize deals with office developers as well. So, I mean, it could depend on any one of those factors.
Okay, so he's not, we're not assuming, or he's not assuming he's gonna start building 2 or 3 years from now. He could start building next year.
No, they have an
especially if there's demand.
incentive
Yeah.
to get buildings built, because their payback for the bonds that they've issued is off of property tax. Those valuations don't start until 2 years after they're built. So as the time goes by with no buildings, their property valuation that they capture doesn't increase at all unless buildings are built. So they have an incentive for that. And commercial is more of an incentive than residential because it's 3 times as much property tax rate than residential. So.
I don't see how this particular, with Buxton, this particular contract is beneficial for the town center at all. I see how it's beneficial for everything else that's existing, but not for the town center, because we have no idea, what Randy's
And I think
plan
that's,
is.
and that's really what it's, and that's really more of what it's for, is I think we've been chugging along, it seems like for years and years with the marketplace, and it's kind of like the same story, different year, and I think it's time to try something new and try some new avenues.
Does the rest of the board feel that way? Is Trustee Williams that Buxton isn't the right tool for the town center?
Unless it's built. When it's built, it's the right
It's
tool.
a huge tool for that.
Yeah, I think
But I'm not saying, I'm actually saying exactly what Clint is saying.
Eventually.
I'm saying it's probably more beneficial for the marketplace and everything else in town right now.
Than it is for the town center.
And as town center begins to unfold with streets and so on, it will absolutely be beneficial
Right.
for.
That's exactly how I see it.
Yeah, and what time frame do you see?
Well, that depends on the market. I mean, that depends on when they get it built. I mean, I can't.
Yeah, I would think though, based on the conversations we've had with Randy and his group over the last couple of years, that he's really gonna start going vertical when he gets commitment from businesses.
Yes.
And it seems like he'd like to have some level of commitment in place before he starts going up.
Yeah. From this event that I attended in Blackhawk, I mean, I think the more places you can get Superior, Colorado, and the town center on maps and on people's minds, the better. I mean, they did this big, gigantic presentation of all the developments in the area, and at the end of it, I'm like, where is Superior Town Center? And I even went up to the speaker. I said, where is Superior Town Center? Oh, gosh, I forgot that one. I know that one's going on, but I totally forgot it. And I mean, but the point to me was that we think we're on radars, but we may not be on radars. And this was...
Clint, I think you make an excellent point. All I ever heard about was the national meeting. I had no idea that there was something more local in terms of ISCS. But just here, we've spent much more time discussing this than we've given it thus far. I mean, I love what I'm hearing from Buxton. I think Katie's done good work for us as well. I don't think there's any rush on August 24th at this particular meeting to have to sign, seal, and deliver anything. I'd like to see us make it through the next budget meeting, and possibly even if we make this decision in October,
We still have enough
that's
time.
still enough time before the May ISCS to make some real headway. So the reason for pulling it is just to say, slow down on this, make sure what we're doing is deliberate, we know what we're doing, and we make well-informed decisions.
Okay. Trustee Dizette.
Just another, does this contract have a term, or is it? I'm confused about this year and next year and how things are working together. And so,
It doesn't mention a term, but it just says one service, you know, so it's basically one.
It's when the service is
When the
complete.
service is
Yeah.
complete, one
The scope of
deliverable.
services is
Right.
completed.
So it's one.
so it sounded like
arrangement.
that we're targeting,
Or upon 30-day notification.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
no, but we're targeting is still going still going into next May, this particular contract, not being completed until then. Is that what we're
Yeah.
thinking about? And
That's
then
correct.
if we continue at some time after that for another contract.
That does beg the question, if we do the one-year contract and we have the identification of 20 top prospects, et cetera, then what can we expect for year two?
It says that
Yep.
on here.
Year two is another 20 targets, and a full refresh, and then kind of that outreach piece, that city seeking retail piece. And it's kind of we start over every year, so we follow the changes. If you're thinking national retail and we're talking about the town center, national retailers, typically you need to think 24 to 36 months out in terms of the recruitment process. So what you're marketing today is not in place today. They're looking at expansion strategies further out than that. So we would be looking to market something that is in place. We also do 5-year projections.
So it's possible, if I'm interpreting you correct, it's always the top 20. So if there is
We
not
rank them,
much
yeah.
change in the top 20, you should be prepared to see a lot of repeats from year one to year two.
No, it would be the next.
It's
it would
the
be
next 20.
It would
So
be
at
next
the
top
end
20.
of 2 years, you would have the top 40.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. The reason we say 20 is because we want staff's somewhat time commitment on the follow-up. 20 is a lot to court in a year. You can have more than that if you want to, but it's that we're just thinking, kind of their timeline.
Because it would seem to me that they reorder themselves somewhat quickly. I'm thinking of some
Based on
local,
market. Yeah.
local scenarios with Chipotle,
Right.
with Noodles, both of which had their start, I think, in Boulder.
Right.
And how gangbusters Chipotle has, to me, they do reorder them so that
Sure.
it isn't necessarily the top 40.
Well, it also depends on what happens around you. So the
Right.
developments those developments that are
Mhm.
happening around you that add to the competitive nature of your marketplace, we may
Right.
eliminate. Some retail, if one goes in close proximity and there's a cannibalization issue, they may drop off your list
Right.
completely. So we need to really follow that marketplace aggressively every year.
Trustee Dazell.
So what has been your experience for success rate? If you have 20, how many do you typically get interested?
In 4.5 years, we've successfully landed over 35 million square feet of retail space.
No, in a town
So-
like ours. So if we have 20, how many? 1, 2?
It depends.
Yeah.
It just depends on the retailers, and it depends on
But what do you think
incentives
what
and-
might happen here? Would we get 1 or 2 out of the 20, or none?
No, I think we're going to
Or
be very
10?
aggressive about getting you, as many as we can, all of them. Again, incentives are going to come into play for some of the retailers.
Incentives from?
For the retail. So sometimes
From-
if they look at, so they're gonna evaluate, or we look at, typically a retailer looks at 10 to 15 sites, and they're putting one store location on the ground. So that's what you're competing against.
Mhm.
So providing good information, cultivating that relationship, staying on that radar screen, having third-party market validation, and no, you're not going to get all of them.
Right.
It's very competitive in nature, so our job is to try to get you as many as we can.
Mhm.
And in a community your size, which is why I provided you the references, we've got lots of communities your size, and they've been very successful. We've got a community similar to you in proximity to the Dallas metro area, and it's about 10,000 people. And they've successfully landed 9 in the last 2 years.
Right. So, and I love data, and I love what you're doing.
Mhm.
I think third-party analytics is the way to go in today's environment. So don't get me wrong,
Sure.
I love what you're doing. I'm just trying to see how it fits in with us. And I also thought we were talking about it for the budget cycle, we might start now, but we don't pay till next year. Now I'm hearing we have 2 possible budget cycles. That's not your fault, it's our thinking here. And then, so the other question that keeps coming up for me is that, kind of what I heard from Katie too, is that whose responsibility is it to find retailers for all these spaces that are vacant? Town doesn't own that space.
Sure.
You know, I'm not really talking to you, I know we have an interest, but they do too, you know, the people, the developers and the people that market that space. And so have they come to us and said, boy, we could really use your help, town, if you could help us identify retailers? Or have they been trying as hard as they can and using the same kind of third party? I'm more looking over to our staff
yeah, we would
rather
do the
than to
same.
you, because you wouldn't know this. But would they be using this third party analytics already? Again, I love what you're doing.
Sure.
And I think it's of great value. But the question is, why should we as a town be paying for it when it should be being paid for by the developer? And then if we want to help them, they need to be here at the table with us saying, yeah, this is the right thing for us to do with you, Town of Superior, to get this accomplished. So I'm kind of like, who's on charge here? Who's on first? And, you know, when we were talking about, Matt, you're absolutely right about the developer of the town center absolutely has a overwhelming, burning need to get somebody to buy their lots and start building up, because they're not going to get any tax TIF, tax increment financing back until they can start building up. But they don't build. The developer over at Superior Town Center sells the lots and somebody else builds on them. Or they might build to suit, but I don't think so. I don't even think they intend to build to suit, which is kind of what Chris was talking about that. So where I'm at is that I think we're kind of ahead of ourselves here. I'm not sure who we're trying to help. And, I know.
We're trying to help the town.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, think of it this way. Most of our cities that surround us, that we neighbor with, have a full-time staff person that does this. And that's all they do.
They're much
40
bigger
hours
than
a
us,
week.
though, too.
Well, Louisville's 18,000 people. We're almost 13. I mean, Lafayette's at 20. We're 13. I mean, as that's what we're competing against. I mean,
Well, I still go back to, though, who's on first? Whose responsibility is this? And should we pay for it if we don't have Brixmore and whoever else and Superior Town Center developer lockstep with us on this, that they're going to use the data and aggressively go after the people that are identified? Again, I don't have a problem with what you're doing. I have a problem with, why are we doing it?
Well, I think we're doing it just as other communities would hire a full-time staff person to do it. I mean, everybody approaches it in a different way. We've spent a lot more time on this than we had kind of budgeted. So I Trustee Gregoris is not here tonight, but I remember during the first presentation, he made the comment, when can you start? So I think I can speak for him in saying that, sooner is better than later. I would fall into that same camp, and I hear the concerns of, do we need to start now versus October? Does that make a huge difference? I don't know, but I do know that why delay it at all if you can potentially get some space filled by this activity? Why should we wait? So we've got a resolution before us. I would like to put this to a vote tonight, and we'll see where we go.
And I think the only reason to delay would be to make sure that we're on the right path. And we've been on one path, and we're considering another path. I just want to make sure we're on the one that we feel is best, and the one we're spending the money for the biggest bang for our buck. It's hard to know that in an hour,
And Matt raised a very interesting point. At this point, with both contracts, we're at least at $75,000 for this year. And if you do a annual cycle, you could say we're going to be at $125,000. At that point, we're at the level of hiring a full-time staff person. And so the question becomes, because it's this lingering thing in my mind, what capacity do we have as a town, and what commitment do we have as a town in this whole realm of economic development? There's no doubt Buxton is going to provide, valuable services, but who on staff can commit enough time to really maximizing the use of those services, which just adds a third element to why let's be deliberate. Let's take a little bit of time and be deliberate about what we're doing here. There's no great urgency to throwing more money at it tonight. I just think this conversation has been very rich with ideas. Give it a little more time to percolate, and let's make some wise decisions. So you already know I feel this should be postponed. But if it's put to a vote, I mean, we can postpone it naturally that way, too.
Okay, but we've got 6 years. I mean, what do you guys think? It's beginning to count here.
Well, my thought is that we've met with Buxton actually many times since 2010, and spent a day driving around Superior with Joe Brown, who I guess is maybe no longer with Buxton, but just showing him the town and letting him see the surrounding communities. And so I have actually been a big proponent of Buxton since we first met them in 2010. I think that if we treat Ranch Capital and the town center development like we've treated the marketplace for the last 15 years, we're no better off. And we've always been stuck with the marketplace and it being the vacancies there. Now it's starting to fill in, but gosh, could we have done something more 5 years ago by filling that in? I don't know, but I think that this is a good opportunity now with the town center. And I didn't say build to suit. I just said let's go out and identify the right businesses that fit our profile, our psychographic to go in the town center, but not just ours, but the surrounding communities to draw people in. And to me, it's worth the money to bring in an expert like that that's going to get us focused, identify those businesses, and let's go after them. I don't think we need to have a full-time person on board to do that. We've got a very qualified town manager and assistant town manager to do those things. Plus, I got to believe that Ranch Capital would be very interested if we had some very good businesses that are very interested in being here. They're going to be a part of that equation too. And like I said before, we have to have Randy here in these meetings when we make these decisions. So, but I certainly couldn't see Randy saying, nah, I'm not real interested in that. We're going to do our own thing. He absolutely would be interested in those. So I think it's an opportunity. We start doing it now. First of the year, we start getting things out to everybody, and we start getting commitments at the ICSC show.
Well, I'm not sure. This happened faster than I anticipated, but the last meeting that we had on this topic, it was our last board meeting, I guess, I thought there was no doubt we were going forward. I mean, that was just the sentiment I picked up. And that we were going to do it in a cooperative manner of adding this to the resources we're currently using. And I guess I'm willing to try that for the year. Not this fiscal year thing. We just got to throw that away. We're not doing necessarily 2 contracts. We're going to do, if we go forward, this is a contract we're doing, see how it works, and then so I'm leaning towards going forward just because that seemed like the sentiment. There's really good questions being brought up about, is anybody that we deal with willing to listen to any of these ideas that we're going to come up with? And I kind of wish we had those conversations with Brixmor and Town Center. But I think, we definitely have an interest in having some targeted ideas and not just waiting for things to happen. So I'd say I'd be willing to go forward at this point on this one, as long as we're not automatically thinking we're doing a 2016 because the budget is discussing that.
So what's in the 2016 budget is just a budget item. What, if we were to agree to this tonight, this contract takes us into 2016, and we might say at the ICS show, we've got 10 qualified people or businesses that are going to come to town, and we don't need to renew the contract for next year, and then we save that 50,000. Correct?
It's a possibility.
It is a
We
possibility.
just see, it might be that good that we want to keep going with it.
Well, maybe that's the case, but I'm just saying right now is we're starting the process. We don't necessarily have to continue it going in June next year. We may say that we got our fill, we don't need any more. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't possibly see that happening. I mean, if we're committed to economic development, then we're committed, and one
I
year
think-
is
I think
not
so,
enough.
too.
Possibly, that's a good
So-
thing then, right?
We've got 6
We're
board members here.
also, one more comment, I expected Rita to weigh in on this, but one more comment here is we heard from Katie Press, our current economic development person, that the two don't coexist well. So, I mean, we're choosing to ignore that statement from our current contractor. That makes me uncomfortable.
But that was for the marketplace.
No,
You
that was
referring-
for everything, but I'm
No, I asked
I'm not
about-
ignoring it. We all heard it. I don't need to have to repeat it. I think we need to consider that as part of our, and that's
Well-
one of the reasons why I feel that we're a little too quick to make this. This is the first time I ever heard it was at the last board meeting, and it wasn't presented in a way that this was an idea that we were going to go forward, and tonight it was in the consent agenda. I think that's a little fast for me, because I've not been party to or participated in any of these other discussions about it. And I still have the very deep concern about whose responsibility is it? And if we find these great retailers, will the parties that are responsible for identifying the tenants actually go with us hand in hand to get this done?
Okay, so we're 6 people, and I've heard from everyone, and I think we're split.
Can I
So-
I understood something differently. Katie, would you mind coming back up just a second? When you were here at the podium, you said that the two couldn't coexist, and you were talking about the marketplace, and I asked, do you have the same exact sentiment about the town center? And you said, no, I don't.
That's correct.
So I understood that you could coexist with regard to the town center.
Well, the way that Buxton's contract is proposed to you is that they're going to give you a top 20 hit list, and they're going to set the meetings up with those folks and participate in those meetings, and that's generally the role that I have played with the town. So in that regard, depending on who the top 20 are and who you think where they're going and what project they're best suited for, there would be an overlap that would be, it wouldn't be prudent for you to pay both of us to do the exact same thing, unless in some way I'm taking the staff's position to have those meetings. But again, that's redundant. So, I think that when we start looking at data, when we look at from a data perspective, there's 2 components. There's the generation of the data, and then there's implementation to the data. And so right now what Buxton is proposing to you is that they can fill both sides of that component, and to the degree that I don't produce data, I'm not an academic, I'm a practitioner. So, my approach is somewhat different. When we wanted to talk to Best Buy, we talked to Best Buy directly. We weren't doing studies to determine that Best Buy was a good fit for that. That was something that was born out of conversations I was having about Best Buy and they're closing their store in Broomfield. So I come about market data and how we pursue and what we look at in terms of retailing from a totally different perspective than a data perspective. At the end result, once you get to where it is you need to go, there still has to be somebody who has the relationships, the knowledge, that knows the folks who are involved in it, that need to have some ability to have those conversations. Buxton is proposing to you that they have that, as well as I propose to you that I have that. So I don't see the need to cross over. I wouldn't dare stand here in front of you and tell you that I should be kept on board when they're proposing to do the exact same work that I would do.
Okay, thanks.
I think we're just going to need to table this until
Yeah.
a future meeting.
Yeah.
Because we can take a vote and we're not going to get anywhere with it, so.
Yeah, I know.
And I'd prefer to have a full board. to
Well, you
vote
won't
on
have
it.
the full board till the end of September, which is,
Well, that's what we'll have to do. so.
Yeah, we won't have a full board for a long time. Yeah,
That's true.
Because I'm going to be missing some meetings as well.
Okay, well, unless someone's willing to
I'm here on.
change positions and move this
Well,
forward, then.
It's, for me, it's not about changing positions. It's about knowing exactly what our plan is, what we think is best.
Okay,
And
Yeah.
that may be Buxton.
Clint, if you
And
want
I'm
to
not-
take a vote, we can take a vote right
No,
now.
I like the idea of tabling it. We have the budget meeting coming up.
But if we're going to table it, we table it to where all of us are here.
Mhm.
Okay, let's do that.
And, you know, I'm so wishy-washy on this, it's, you know.
Right.
So tabling it, I'd be very happy to table it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
Okay.
I'm very happy with what I see. I just need more information. I need to understand
The plan.
the
We
direction
need to
that we're
have
going.
a cohesive plan.
Okay.
So what would that, so that's fine. If we're going to create a plan, let's do that. Let's have Matt and his group start to create a plan. What do you want to see in that plan?
Yeah, I'd like to sit down with them. I think, Chris, we've had a lot of those discussions. Let's sit down with them.
And might I say this, we were thinking they would coexist, and we just found out that that would not happen. So, that is a little bit different than what I was thinking. And I'm not gonna on the fly decide, oh, okay then I won't do both of them, because I need to know where we're going. And
That's a good point.
I mean, that's what changed it for me.
Okay. Okay, so 12D is tabled. Move on to 13. Adoption of a resolution making appointments to the Recycling and Conservation Advisory Committee.
Do a written ballot.
Board interviewed 2 applicants for the Recycling Conservation Advisory Committee. We have 3 vacancies currently on that committee. The 2 applicants, or the candidates, are Lisa Skumatz and Esmond Snell. The board has the option of appointing one.
Thank you.
Appointing one, both, or no applicants and re-advertising. Because there's more vacancies than applicants, we thought the board could just make a motion to appoint whomever you would like and then vote on it rather than doing ballots.
I agree.
Okay. Someone like to make a
So-
motion?
So do we
Yeah,
have
I'll
to,
make a
is there a
motion.
motion there, or do we have to?
I'll make
or
a
resol-
motion.
Okay.
Like to make a motion, Town of Superior Resolution Number R-38, Series 2015, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior, Colorado, making appointments to the Recycling and Conservation Advisory Committee. Joe, I'm sorry, you should have probably read this one.
No, it's okay.
Appointing Lisa Skumatz and Esmond Snell to RCAC.
Okay, motion by trustee Hanson, second by trustee Sorelli. All those in favor? Pennington, Folsom, Hanson, Sorelli, Dozell. Opposed?
I think we should put it out for more.
Well, we still have another opening,
We have another opening, yeah.
so we certainly should be putting it out for more.
Yeah.
But let's get, because
It's been
can
out.
they even get a quorum and?
Well, they need
The
to.
vote's been taken.
Oh, yeah, so that's
So, I mean,
discussion, right?
Okay.
We should be
Right.
putting it out for more, definitely. There's
Yeah.
no
Oh, no, that
question.
wasn't discussion.
Well, it's not, it's
Okay.
going to be continually, yeah. It's-
And we have a vacancy on Pro Stack, I believe, that we're advertising for as well, so. We'll continue to
Are we finally
do
full
that.
on open space?
I believe so.
Hallelujah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is executive session. Executive session to consider the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 24-6-4024A, and to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, develop a strategy for negotiations, and/or instruct negotiators pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 24-6-4024C regarding the town center parcels and other properties. I don't know if I needed to read that whole thing, but I just
You do.
did. Okay, good, I did.
It's supposed to be read.